Chapter 288. The half-immortal elite that had arrived first was actually not from Zushinzong, but from the Origin Void sect. It wasn't hard to imagine how much those sects didn't want Murongyu to continue growing. That made sense. Murongyu had been able to kill the chief disciple of Zushinzong before, so he naturally could also kill the chief disciples, holy sons, and holy daughters of other sections. Furthermore, as Murongyu's strength increased, the threat he posed to them also increased. No one wanted to see an existence that was a huge threat to their sect continue to exist. As long as they found the weakness of this existence, they would be ruthless and directly kill him. Hong Long Long. Murongyu was still absorbing and refining power to break through, and on the other side, the large black dog and the other two half-immortal elites were already engaged in a great battle. One man and two beasts in terms of battle prowess. Each of them had reached the half-immortal level. And with two half-immortal elites joining forces, the Origin Void sect's half-immortal Fantong immediately showed signs of preparation. Especially the large black dog and the fire-eyed golden ape, who knew that Murongyu was in danger. These two guys were usually fierce, and at this moment, they exploded with 120% of their ferocity. They used all kinds of ultimate killing moves right from the start, and directly attacked Fantong until he could not speak. Die! The large black dog roared loudly and slapped out with a paw. At the same time, his large mouth even shattered the sky and fiercely bit down. Fantong directly clashed head-on with the large black dog, and both were sent flying. And at this moment, the fire-eyed golden ape appeared out of thin air not far behind Fantong, and directly smashed down with a club. With a muffled dong, Fantong screamed, and his half-immortal body was instantly smashed into pieces. Woof, woof, woof! The large black dog laughed wildly and stepped through the void to rush over, his tail containing terrifying power directly whipping Fantong's body. With a muffled pung, Fantong finally could not bear it, and his whole body was instantly smashed into pieces, turning into fine powder. A half-immortal elite was killed just like that. However, the large black dog and the fire-eyed golden ape did not show any expression of joy, because at this moment, there were already a few powerful auras that were rapidly flying over from the distant horizon. Judging from their auras, they were at least half-immortals. Ha! It really is that little bastard Murongyu. Hand over your life. A Zushinzong half-celestial rushed over, and when he saw Murongyu in the midst of a breakthrough, he laughed loudly. At the same time, he stretched out a large hand and directly grabbed at Murongyu. He actually ignored the large black dog and the fire-eyed golden ape. The large black dog's nose was fuming with anger, and he shouted in displeasure. F***CKU, are you blind? Can't you see that your Lord Heavenly Dog is here? He's really courting death. As he spoke, the large black dog had already struck out with his paw. The fire-eyed golden ape did not say anything. It had already struck out with its rod. Two half-immortal beasts. It was as if this was the first time he had seen the large black dog and the middle-aged man. A look of astonishment appeared on the face of this half-celestial from Zushinzong. Facing the attacks of two half-immortals, he did not dare to be careless. He could only withdraw the large hand that was attacking Murongyu and engage in a fierce battle with the large black dog and the fire-eyed golden ape. A sinister voice was heard. Another half-immortal elite flew over and directly attacked Murongyu. Golden-furred ape, you kill this old turtle bastard. I'll go and kill that F***er. The large black dog flew into a rage and knocked back the Zushinzong half-immortal with a paw. Then, he charged at the other half-immortal. F***CKU, which sect are you from? The large black dog roared, and had already charged forward. Fectus sect. The newcomer sneered. However, his attacks were not slow, and directly attacked Murongyu. So, it's the trash from the Fectus sect. Instead of chasing after the little ape king, you actually came here to cause trouble. Your Lord Heavenly Dog will remember you. The large black dog roared, and directly charged forward to receive his attack. In an instant, The four half-immortals were engaged in a fierce battle. Terrifying power continuously erupted, and the nearby void was continuously shattered. The ground had long since collapsed and sunk. As for those cultivators who were not strong, they had long since fled as far as they could before the arrival of the half-immortals. Morongyu, you're definitely going to die. At this moment, another half-immortal elite charged over. F*CKU. The large black dog was about to vomit blood. He finally felt how Morongyu felt, like he had the entire world as his enemy. Although the large black dog was about to vomit blood, he still erupted with power and fought the two half-immortals. He blocked them in front of Morongyu and did not allow them to take even half a step closer. Haha, Morongyu, you great demon. Now, it's not only our Zushinzong that wants to kill you. Looks like there's really no place for you in the world of cultivators. Another Zushinzong half-immortal rushed over and joined the battle. However, he was blocked by the fire-eyed golden ape. Morongyu didn't even open his eyes as he watched the battle unfold. The primal chaos energy around him grew even more frenzied. You're all F***king dogs. In the battle, the large black dog continuously ridiculed his opponents. This caused his two opponents to become extremely furious, and their strength became stronger and stronger. They were gnashing their teeth at the large black dog and wanted nothing more than to kill the large black dog and eat his dog meat. Hurry up and kill these two bastards. Otherwise, once Morongyu breaks through, we won't have the best chance to kill him. In the battle, all the cultivators said this. Although they had not fought with Morongyu before, they had long heard of Morongyu's strength. When he was in the body integration stage, he could kill transformation stage cultivators. Once he entered the tribulation stage, he would probably be able to kill half-immortal stage existences. At that time, even existences at their level would not be able to deal with Morongyu. Only those old monsters would be able to suppress him. However, the strength of the large black dog and fire-eyed golden ape exceeded their expectations. Although they already had 6 half-immortal stage existences, when 6 half-immortals fought against 2 half-immortals, they would definitely be able to crush their opponents with numbers alone. If it was an ordinary person, they would have been killed long ago. However, at this time, the large black dog and fire-eyed golden ape were fighting more and more valiantly, and they were not at a disadvantage at all. However, the large black dog and fire-eyed golden ape knew their own difficulties. They looked incomparably valiant, but they were already at their limits. Moreover, in this damn place, there was no spirit chi to absorb. In fact, during this process, the fire-eyed golden ape had already taken out a spirit vein and threw it into his mouth and started to refine it. Although the large black dog did not see him refine it, it was obvious that his power could not be maintained for long. Moreover, there seemed to be another space in this guy's stomach. He had probably already started to refine the spirit vein and convert it into power. Seeing the fire-eyed golden ape directly devouring the spirit vein to replenish his power, the eyes of these half-immortals from the various large sects turned red. Spirit veins were incomparably precious existences no matter where they went. Now, this guy actually directly devoured it. This was too wasteful. However, they also knew that since the fire-eyed golden ape could devour the spirit vein and refine its power without batting an eyelid, it meant that they had a lot of spirit veins. If they could kill them, they would definitely be able to make a fortune. Thinking of this, these people seemed to have been injected with chicken blood and instantly became excited. A bunch of trash. 6 people actually can't kill 2 beasts. Another half-immortal arrived. This person first sneered, then directly joined the battle, causing the pressure on the large black dog and fire-eyed golden ape to increase explosively. The battle continued. Although the large black dog and fire-eyed golden ape were incomparably valiant, the number of enemies was increasing. At this moment, their opponents had already become 10 half-immortals. It's over, it's over. Today, the 3 of us are probably going to die here. The large black dog was continuously spitting blood from being killed. Facing so many enemies, he really could not hold on any longer. The fire-eyed golden ape did not say a word, and only continuously roared. Its body was also bathed in blood and was incomparably tragic. However, no matter what, even though their lives were already in danger, they still blocked in front of Muronyu and used all their strength to stop this enemy from advancing. Forget it, forget it. Since Murong Brat has saved me from the extreme immortal battle, today I will protect him even if I have to risk my life. The large black dog thought resolutely. Even if I have to give up my life, I will protect the Lord. The fire-eyed golden ape was bathed in blood and continuously attacked. However, the number of enemies was increasing. Finally, bang, bang. After two muffled sounds, the large black dog and fire-eyed golden ape were finally ruthlessly sent flying. And the ones who attacked were actually two first-step immortals. Cough, cough. The large black dog and fire-eyed golden ape fell 1 mile in front of Muronyu. They continuously coughed up blood, and all the bones in their bodies were shattered. Their bodies were also revealing many bone-deep, shocking wounds. Lord, we did our best. The fire-eyed golden ape raised its head with difficulty and looked in Murongyu's direction and said guiltily. Meanwhile, the large black dog straightforwardly lay on the ground and pretended to be dead. Not to mention raising his head. At this moment, he did not even have the ability to speak. 20 half-immortal level powerhouses could have killed them, but they were able to block 20 half-immortal level powerhouses for half a day. If this matter was spread out, the two of them would be enough to shock the cultivation world. Originally, facing 20 half-immortals, they were already giving their all. Otherwise, they would not be able to block them for half a day. However, what made them despair was that Zhushenzong actually really sent two first-step immortals this time. Originally, they were already on the verge of death. After these two first-step immortals arrived, each of them instantly heavily injured the large black dog and fire-eyed golden ape. At this moment, those half-immortals and first-step immortals were slowly closing in on Murongyu. However, when they saw the large black dog and fire-eyed golden ape lying on the ground, unable to move, their eyes revealed even more shock. The two of them blocked the attacks of 20 half-immortals for half a day. This strength was truly terrifying. If they were allowed to continue growing, they would be another freak like Murongyu. Murongyu was a freak, and those who followed him were also freaks. A ruthless expression appeared on one of the half-immortals' face, and then he struck out with his palm, wanting to kill the fire-eyed golden ape and the large black dog who did not have any ability to retaliate. Chapter 289. The one who attacked was a half-immortal elite from the Purple Flame sect. The large black dog and the fire-eyed golden ape were heavily injured and couldn't even move. However, the half-immortal who attacked didn't have any sense of shame and actually wanted to kill the large black dog and the fire-eyed golden ape. In fact, it wasn't that he had any enmity with the large black dog. In fact, the fire-eyed golden ape had already refined a few spirit veins during the battle. Murongyu was a moving treasure trove, so how bad could the two half-immortal elites who followed him be? If he killed him, then the fire-eyed golden ape and the large black dog's wealth would become his. After all, with the two first-step immortals, Zhushenzong, here, Murongyu would die without a doubt. After Murongyu died, with the strength of the two first-step immortals, these half-immortals wouldn't be able to snatch Murongyu's treasures from their hands. Naturally, the large black dog and the fire-eyed golden ape became their target. When the half-immortal from the Purple Flame sect attacked, the other half-immortals also looked at the large black dog and the fire-eyed golden ape. Some half-immortals even laughed maliciously and rushed forward. F***, you bastards are too shameless. Don't force your Lord Heavenly Dog, or I'll make you all die. Seeing that these bastards actually wanted to kill the two of them, the large black dog was instantly enraged. Haha, funny, you can't even move now, and you still want to kill me? You're really courting death. A half-immortal looked at the large black dog with disdain and stretched out his hand, about to attack. The large black dog was incomparably furious. F***, don't force me to reveal all my trump cards, or else you all will die. The large black dog actually still had trump cards. After all, he used to have such a close relationship with immortal Emperor Ju Xian, so it would be strange if he didn't have any trump cards. However, even though he was beaten half to death, he didn't use this trump card. It wasn't that he didn't want to use it, and it wasn't that he couldn't use it. Instead, once he used that trump card, not to mention these first step immortals, even Murong Yu and himself could be annihilated. In other words, once he used his trump card, both of them would die. The large black dog definitely wouldn't use this trump card until the very last moment. This was because the large black dog was still waiting for the final moment to arrive. If Murong Yu had successfully broken through, he would not have needed to use this trump card. If Murong Yu failed to break through, the large black dog would have no choice but to use this trump card. It was better to perish together than to be killed by them. The few half-immortals laughed nastily and suddenly teleported toward the large black dog and the fire-eyed golden ape. Facing the other half-immortals who were eyeing them covetously, they had to act as quickly as possible. Otherwise, they would only obtain the corpses of the large black dog and the fire-eyed golden ape. King dogs, I'll fight you to the death. I'll take you down with me. The large black dog was enraged, and he roared in his mind. He was just about to use his trump card. All of you must die. However, just as he was about to reveal his trump card, a cold voice that was filled with endless murderous intent echoed. Upon hearing this voice, the large black dog heaved a sigh of relief. He didn't reveal his trump card. My lord has finally broken through. The fire-eyed golden ape also heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, the surrounding chaotic energy that was originally extremely violent suddenly disappeared into thin air. Almost at the same time, an extremely violent and terrifying aura suddenly erupted and swept out in all directions. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, the large black dog and the fire-eyed golden ape actually disappeared into thin air, causing the few half-immortals to miss their target. Murong Yu, who had been sitting cross-legged on the ground and breaking through without even opening his eyes, suddenly stood up at this moment. The terrifying aura had erupted from his body. This brat has broken through. Seeing the murderous Murong Yu, the many half-immortals' hearts trembled. They didn't know why, but when they came into contact with Murong Yu's cold gaze, their souls also began to palpitate. At this moment, Murong Yu's aura was more than 100 times stronger than before. Waves of powerful and terrifying aura continuously surged out like a tide, causing the hearts of these half-immortals to tremble. Too powerful. Is he really only at the tribulation passing stage? His strength is so strong that even I am not his match. Just sensing Murong Yu's aura, some half-immortals already felt a wave of fear. Impossible. In any case, I am also a veteran half-immortal expert. He is just a mere tribulation passing stage cultivator, yet he actually caused me to be afraid? How is this possible? Some of the half-immortals' faces changed, and they were incomparably shocked in their hearts. Murong Yu, who had just broken through to the tribulation passing stage, actually caused these half-immortals to feel fear. One could only imagine how terrifying his strength was. All of you will die. Murong Yu did not make a move. Instead, he stood on the spot and coldly looked at everyone. His gaze that was filled with incomparable killing intent swept past these people one by one, and he continuously sneered in his heart. Zhuxianzong, Origin Void Sect, Purple Flame Sect, Divine Talisman Sect, among the 10 great sects, other than the Hidden Fairy Valley and Mystic Moon Sect, the other 8 great sects all had half-immortals appear. Moreover, other than these 8 great sects, Murong Yu even saw a few other half-immortals belonging to first-rate sections. Very good. My breakthrough has caused your sect to feel fear, right? It has caused your hearts to tremble. You already can't wait to kill me? It's just that I have disappointed you once again. Today, all of you will die. Not only you, your sects will also be exterminated because of your foolish decision. I, Murong Yu, will do what I say. Murong Yu's voice was incomparably cold, and his words that were filled with killing intent caused the hearts of these half-immortals to turn cold. It was so much so that an absurd thought appeared in their hearts. Murong might not be boasting, and perhaps he really has the strength to exterminate their sections. However, just as this thought appeared, it was immediately stifled by them. What a joke! Even if Murong's strength was formidable, their sect were not weak either. One of the 10 great sects, and even a first-rate sect, just the foundation of their sects alone was not something that Murong could look up to. What qualifications did he have to exterminate their sects? At this moment, Murong was truly furious. Originally, he had enmity with Zhushenzong, and it was very normal for these people to want to kill him, and he would not be too angry. However, the half-immortals of other sects had also come, and he did not even have any interactions with the Purple Flame sect, All Pleasure sect, and so on. He understood that his growth had caused these people to feel threatened, and thus they wanted to kill him. Dealing with these people who wanted to kill him, Murong was usually very straightforward. There was no need to be lenient and exterminate all of them. Moreover, the big black dog and the fire-eyed golden ape were heavily injured and almost killed. This also caused Murong to be extremely furious. For the first time, he had the thought of exterminating all of these sections. Perhaps, in the eyes of these people, Murong was undoubtedly talking nonsense, but Murong had the ability to do so. Idiot, you're still so stubborn even when you're about to die. A first-step immortal of Zhushenzong sneered and pointed a finger at Murong. With his strength, he only needed to point a finger to kill Murong. One finger was enough. I admit, even if I broke through to the tribulation passing stage and have the ability to kill half-immortals, I'm definitely not a match for a first-step immortal. The two of you are so powerful that you can even kill me. However, you will definitely die in the next few days. Murong sneered, and a strange smile appeared on his face. Everyone had a look of disdain, and they all thought that Murong was deliberately mystifying. However, at this moment, an extremely terrifying aura with the power to destroy heaven and earth suddenly descended from the sky and suppressed them. This aura was so terrifying that it made the half-immortals and even the first-step immortals feel terrified and even feel the aura of death. Everyone turned pale with fright and hurriedly looked up. In the next moment, their expressions changed drastically. Heavenly tribulation. Rumble. As if in response to their words, there was an explosion in the sky before they could finish their words. Then, a sky full of tribulation thunder enveloped the heaven and earth and bombarded them. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. These people turned pale with fright, and they immediately used teleportation to fly away. It's too late. No matter where you go, the heavenly tribulation will kill you. You can slowly enjoy all of this. Murong laughed out loud. The reason why he talked so much nonsense with these people was to delay time and numb them, so that the heavenly tribulation would have enough time to condense. Now, the heavenly tribulation had finally descended. Moreover, there were nearly 20 half-immortals here, and 2 of them were first-step immortals. With such terrifying strength, the heavenly tribulation would definitely be very terrifying. Even the faces of the 2 one-step immortals turned pale in an instant. The one-step immortal who attacked Murong earlier even retracted his power. Rumble ah! The first wave of tribulation thunder filled the entire void and poured down in torrents. Accompanied by a miserable shriek, a half-immortal was caught off guard and was directly killed. The heavenly tribulation triggered by 20 half-immortals and 2 first-step immortals was truly terrifying. Although these half-immortals were already peak existences in the cultivation world, they could not withstand the tribulation thunder at all. They were simply unable to withstand a single blow. The first wave of tribulation thunder had not dissipated yet, but 5 half-immortals had already been killed. Murong, you are really vicious. Seeing that the half-immortals were continuously killed by the tribulation thunder, the remaining half-immortals looked at Murong with surging killing intent. Murong sneered. Vicious? If you didn't want to kill me, why would I trigger tribulation thunder to kill you? Those who kill will be killed by others. All of you will die. Then we will kill you first. Many half-immortals and the 2 first-step immortals were furious. They all rushed towards Murong. You should save your own life first. Murong sneered. He was not afraid at all. He was not worried that these people would be able to kill him. Just the tribulation thunder alone would be enough to kill them all. However, Morong Yu's expression became grave. After all, there are so many experts, especially the two first-step immortals. He did not know whether he could withstand the heavenly tribulation. Chapter 290. In the cultivation world, no matter when cultivators were most afraid of heavenly tribulation, especially those heavenly tribulations that were triggered without any preparation. In the immortal mound, a large area of the void was covered by dense tribulation lightning. Waves of terrifying pressure were constantly being emitted, intimidating the myriad of worlds. Strangely, even though there was a huge restriction outside the immortal mound, it didn't stop the tribulation lightning. Moreover, the tribulation lightning didn't seem to cause any damage to the restriction. Seeing the destructive power, everyone knew that someone was transcending tribulation, and it wasn't the 4 and 9 heavenly tribulation. If it wasn't the 4 and 9 heavenly tribulation, the power of the heavenly tribulation would increase due to the increase of cultivators. Therefore, when they discovered that someone was transcending tribulation, regardless of whether it was cultivators below the tribulation passing stage or above, all of them retreated far away. If they approached the heavenly tribulation at this time, the heavenly tribulation would treat them as one of the transcending tribulations. Moreover, the power of the heavenly tribulation would be even more terrifying than before. Therefore, in the periphery of the heavenly realm, countless cultivators looked at the void filled with tribulation lightning. It was like an ocean of lightning. They couldn't even see what was inside the tribulation lightning. At this time, the third tribulation lightning disappeared. Apart from Morong Yu, there were only 2 people in the tribulation lightning. Zuxianzong's 2 first-step immortals. As for the remaining 20 half-immortals, they were already killed by the tribulation lightning. Even though half-immortals were already at the pinnacle of the cultivation world, they couldn't withstand a single blow from the tribulation lightning. Even the 2 one-step immortals turned pale from the bombardment. Their faces were filled with terror. On the contrary, Morong Yu, who was only at the tribulation passing stage, was still very calm. Looking at the unscathed Morong Yu, who was currently taking away the storage ring of a half-immortal, the first-step immortals. Although those half-immortals were killed, their storage rings were still intact. Just like that, the treasures collected by 20 half-immortals were taken away by Morong Yu. This made the 2 first-step immortals very angry. They really couldn't understand. Morong Yu wasn't strong, but he was able to resist the might of the heavenly tribulation. Could it be that he has some kind of treasure that can withstand the heavenly tribulation? The 2 one-step immortals exchanged glances and then rushed toward Morong Yu with teleportation. If Morong Yu really had such a treasure on him, then they would have to snatch it from him in order to survive this tribulation. This was only the 3rd stage of the heavenly tribulation, and they had already exhausted almost all of their strength to resist it. How could they resist the next 6 stages of the heavenly tribulation? The corners of Morong Yu's mouth curled up into a smile when he saw the 2 one-step immortals charging at him. If it were any other occasion, he might have turned around and fled immediately when faced with 2 first-step immortals. But now, he was not afraid. Rumble, sure enough, as soon as the 2 one-step immortals teleported away, a sky full of tribulation lightning struck down. The terrifying tribulation lightning shattered the void and knocked the 2 first-step immortals out of the void. Idiots! Morong Yu looked at the 2 one-step immortals with disdain. At the same time, he guided the power of the tribulation lightning into his body and continuously tempered it. Although his strength had broken through, his physical body hadn't. It was still at the peak of the 9th grade spiritual artifact. However, the breakthrough of his physical body wouldn't be long. Morong Yu believed that if he survived this tribulation, his physical body would break through and his strength would soar again. After all, an immortal artifact level physical body was something that even immortals couldn't achieve. The fourth stage of tribulation, lightning struck down, but Murong-yu was still unharmed. On the contrary, his physical body had become stronger and was almost about to break through. The two one-step immortals were even more dangerous. The fifth stage of tribulation, lightning. Murong-yu was still guiding the tribulation lightning to temper his physical body. The two one-step immortals were so shocked that they vomited blood when they saw this. The two of them worked hard and used all their strength to resist the tribulation lightning. However, the tribulation lightning was only used to temper the strength of Murong-yu's physical body. This discovery made them want to vomit blood. The sixth stage of tribulation, lightning struck down. At the end of the tribulation, one of the two one-step immortals finally let out a shrill cry and was turned into dust by the tribulation lightning. Only one has died, as expected of a one-step immortal, said Murong-yu with a look of surprise. The remaining one-step immortal spat out a mouthful of blood. This was because he was angry. The seventh stage of tribulation, lightning struck down. The one-step immortal who had been holding on for so long finally couldn't withstand it and was turned into dust by the tribulation lightning. At this moment, Murong-yu finally couldn't withstand the destructive power of the tribulation lightning. In fact, Murong-yu wasn't as unharmed as the two one-step immortals had seen him to be. Because of the tree of life, even if his physical body was injured, the terrifying power of life would instantly heal it. The healing power of life was so terrifying that outsiders didn't even notice that Murong-yu was injured. However, when it came to the seventh stage of tribulation lightning, the healing power of life was no longer comparable to the power of the tribulation lightning. Unable to maintain his balance, Murong-yu finally had a terrifying wound on his body. Of course, the seventh stage of tribulation lightning wasn't powerful enough to kill Murong-yu. However, Murong-yu's expression didn't look too good. It's already the seventh stage of tribulation lightning. There are two more stages of tribulation lightning. However, I still can't break through my physical body. Murong-yu's expression was gloomy as he thought to himself. If his physical body couldn't break through, he didn't have the confidence to survive the last tribulation lightning. Moreover, if such a powerful tribulation lightning couldn't directly help his physical body to break through, then he could only wait for the 49 heavenly tribulations. However, with Murong-yu's achievements and aptitude, his 49 heavenly tribulations would definitely be dozens or even hundreds of times more ferocious than other cultivators. Without a strong physical body and strength, it would be very difficult for Murong-yu to climb the stairway to heaven and blast open the gate of immortality. Boom! There was an explosion in the sky as the eighth stage of tribulation lightning struck down. The sky was filled with tribulation lightning, shattering the void within a radius of tens of thousands of miles. It drowned the world and turned it into a sea of tribulation lightning. It was extremely terrifying. Crack! As soon as the eighth stage of tribulation lightning struck, terrifying cracks appeared on Murong-yu's body. They were like cracks on porcelain, but even more terrifying. Streaks of bright red blood seeped out continuously. It was a shocking sight. In fact, Murong-yu even saw a few of his own bones shatter. Crack! Crack! Endless tribulation lightning continued to strike Murong-yu's body, constantly bombarding his physical body. Although the tree of life was madly absorbing chaotic energy and transforming it into life force, it couldn't repair itself in time. If this continued, Murong-yu would be directly killed by the tribulation lightning. Especially the last stage of tribulation lightning, Murong-yu would probably be blasted to smithereens with one strike. Breakthrough. Murong-yu crazily circulated the chaotic celestial record. He absorbed the power of tribulation lightning and began to refine his physical body. The eighth stage of tribulation lightning continued to strike. Under Murong-yu's craziness, the tree of life trembled. Terrifying energy burst out and quickly repaired his physical body. However, on the other hand, Murong-yu was even more crazily guiding the tribulation lightning into his body. The terrifying power of tribulation lightning continued to shatter his bones and physical body. However, under the effect of the life force, which had a terrifying recovery ability, they were repaired. Pain and joy. Murong-Yu rapidly experienced the process of destruction and repair. At the same time, he was in so much pain that he wanted to die. If I can't break through before the 8th stage of tribulation lightning ends, I'm afraid I'll be seriously injured even if I pass the 9th stage. Murong-Yu gritted his teeth and continued to refine his physical body. The tribulation lightning gradually dissipated. The 8th stage of tribulation lightning was about to end. Finally, the 8th stage of tribulation lightning completely disappeared. Murong-Yu's physical body still didn't break through. Boom! Not long after, the last heavenly tribulation finally struck down. It was terrifying. It was dozens of times more terrifying than the previous 8 heavenly tribulations combined. A pressure that was hundreds of times more terrifying than the previous 8 heavenly tribulations erupted at this moment. It swept out in all directions. It was earth-shattering and extremely terrifying. At this moment, the entire immortal tomb seemed to tremble. The terrifying pressure suppressed the entire immortal tomb, causing the huge restriction to creak. Plop! Plop! The moment the 9th stage of tribulation lightning descended, all the cultivators in the immortal tomb felt the terrifying pressure descending from the sky. In an instant, countless cultivators were directly suppressed to the ground by this terrifying pressure. Even those half-immortals were pressed down to the ground by this terrifying pressure. Only a few first-step immortals were still standing in the sky. However, it was very difficult for them to resist this pressure. The heavenly tribulation had such power even when it was hundreds of thousands of miles away, let alone Murong-Yu, who was the first to face it. At this moment, Murong-Yu was even in despair. He didn't expect the last stage of tribulation to be so terrifying. It was actually a few hundred times stronger than the previous 8 stages combined. F***CK. Even an immortal's heavenly tribulation can't be more than this, right? Murong-Yu finally couldn't help but curse. After Murong-Yu's voice spread far away, all the cultivators in the immortal tomb turned pale with fright. There was actually someone who didn't die from the heavenly tribulation. They were all forced to prostrate themselves on the ground by this terrifying pressure and were almost killed by it. However, this person was actually in the middle of the tribulation lightning. What kind of monster was this? Everyone's expression changed. However, no matter what, none of them believed that this person could survive the first stage of tribulation. Boom! The moment the terrifying pressure of the heavenly tribulation erupted, an equally powerful and terrifying aura that resisted the heavenly tribulation spread out from the tribulation lightning. What a terrifying aura! Who has such powerful strength? At the same time, the cultivators who were suppressed to the ground by the tribulation lightning and couldn't move suddenly felt their bodies relax. This sudden eruption of power was actually able to resist the might of the heavenly tribulation. It was really too terrifying. Chapter 291. The terrifying aura lasted for a long time before the tribulation lightning finally dissipated. The tribulation clouds in the sky had also disappeared, and the sky outside the immortal necropolis was clear again. The immortal necropolis was still filled with black, chaotic energy, and ordinary people could not see far. What was that just now? How could there be a power comparable to the heavenly tribulation? After the tribulation lightning dissipated, the terrifying aura of the heavenly tribulation also disappeared. Even the terrifying aura that resisted the heavenly tribulation disappeared into thin air. The cultivators who were originally suppressed by the terrifying aura and could not move got up from the ground in a sorry state. However, everyone was even more shocked now. They were all shocked by the terrifying aura that erupted just now. Only a first-step immortal could resist the powerful aura. Did that mean that the aura was released by a first-step immortal? All the first-step immortals in the immortal necropolis had a gloomy expression on their faces. Previously, When there was only the heavenly tribulation, they could resist and not be suppressed to the ground by the heavenly tribulation's aura. However, when the terrifying aura that was not inferior to the heavenly tribulation's aura came from behind, they were suppressed to the ground and could not move at all. This made them feel ashamed, angry, and shocked. That power was actually able to resist the heavenly tribulation's aura from afar. They, as first-step immortals, did not have this ability at all. Although first-step immortals were powerful and could kill some people with just their aura alone, they were definitely not as powerful as the aura just now. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Regardless of who it was or what kind of treasure it was, these people were all very curious. Of course, if it was a treasure, they would definitely snatch it. Therefore, after the heavenly tribulation dissipated, these people flew toward the area where the tribulation lightning struck. Along the way, they saw a desert. Under the bombardment of the tribulation lightning, the original mountains were not only sunk by dozens of miles, but they were also blasted into a desert. It was a desolate place. There's someone there? Suddenly, someone's gaze paused. He saw a cultivator sitting cross-legged in the desert, as if he was cultivating. Although this person was pitch black, and his clothes had been completely destroyed, he was sitting there naked. However, he was indeed a cultivator. Additionally, the aura emanating from his body was not weak. Moronyu is still alive. One of the sharp-eyed people saw the appearance of the cultivator and immediately exclaimed, "What? Moronyu is still alive?" Then, that terrifying aura that could resist the heavenly tribulation from afar was released by him. Hearing this exclamation, everyone was shocked. They knew that Moronyu was undergoing a tribulation. Moreover, there were more than 20 people who were going through the tribulation with him, including 2 first-step immortals. The 2 first-step immortals were unable to resist the heavenly tribulation and were killed in the end. However, Moronyu was able to withstand it. In fact, the terrifying aura from before was also emitted by him. Everyone was bewildered as they slowly approached Moronyu. However, they didn't dare to get too close. After all, they didn't understand Moronyu's condition at all. They didn't know the depth of his strength. If they rashly went up, they might be killed by Moronyu. Suddenly, a half-immortal laughed out loud. "We have a lot of half-immortals here. There are even first-step immortals. Why are we afraid of Moronyu, who is only a cultivator in the tribulation passing stage?" Moronyu's realm was not high. They could see his realm at a glance. Because of this, the half-immortal who saw Moronyu's realm laughed out loud. Everyone was startled. Then, they reacted and looked at Moronyu one by one. Previously, they were all stunned by Moronyu. They didn't have time to see Moronyu's realm. When they saw it, they couldn't help but curse. Moronyu was indeed only in the tribulation passing stage. Although Moronyu's strength and realm were never proportional, no matter how strong he was, he couldn't be a match for a first-step immortal. At this moment, everyone sneered in their hearts. There were already people who couldn't wait to kill Moronyu. Killing him was one of their goals. The main goal was to kill Moronyu, a moving treasure trove. However, their movements were not as fast as one person. The half-immortal who saw Moronyu's realm first had already attacked Moronyu with a sinister smile. He stretched out his big hand, carrying a terrifying aura. It shattered the void and grabbed at Moronyu's head. If he grabbed it, Moronyu's head would be cut off. "You're courting death." An indifferent voice sounded. The voice was as cold as 10,000-year-old ice. It was filled with endless killing intent, causing the surrounding temperature to drop instantly. At the same time, Moronyu, who had been sitting cross-legged on the ground, lightly punched out. Yes, lightly punched out. It was as slow as a snail. It didn't have any aura or power. The half-immortal who attacked laughed sinisterly. His big hand suddenly accelerated and was about to cut off Moronyu's head. Bang! At this moment, Moronyu punched the half-immortal's big hand. After a loud sound, the big hand instantly shattered. Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked. At this moment, the fist that was originally slowly punched out did not stop after shattering the half-immortal's big hand. It didn't even stop. Whoosh! Murong Yu's fist suddenly accelerated. It instantly broke through the obstruction of billions of space-time and appeared in front of the half-immortal. Before the half-immortal could react, the fist had already ruthlessly bombarded his body. The half-immortal's face revealed a shocked and disdainful expression. Murong Yu's speed shocked him. However, Murong Yu's crossing tribulation stage cultivation made him feel disdain. But soon, a look of horror appeared on his face. Bang! An explosion sound echoed. The half-immortal actually exploded just like that. He was actually shattered by Murong Yu's fist. Even when the half-immortal was about to die, he didn't know how Murong Yu could be so powerful. He is just a crossing tribulation stage cultivator. This was the half-immortal's last thought. It was also the thought of everyone in the surroundings. Overestimating your capabilities. Murong Yu sneered and slowly stood up. No one knew if he was talking about the half-immortal that he killed or the surrounding people. His body shook, and a green energy burst out, lingering around his body. Then, everyone saw Murong Yu's body return to its original black charcoal state. After taking out a set of clothes and putting them on, Murong Yu coldly swept his gaze over everyone. These people still didn't give up. When they saw Murong Yu's gaze, everyone's heart couldn't help but tremble. Murong Yu's strength wasn't very strong, but when he looked at everyone, fear rose in their hearts. Murong Yu stretched his body, and his body suddenly emitted a crackling sound. Then he indifferently said, "Are you going to come one by one or swarm me? I will accompany you." Crazy. This bastard must have been struck by tribulation, lightning, and became stupid. Seeing Murong Yu's appearance, everyone had this thought in their hearts. In fact, they couldn't help but have this thought. One must know that there were dozens of half-immortals here. There were even a few first-step immortals. If Murong Yu wasn't a fool, he should have run away immediately. Could it be that he thought he had the ability to fight against dozens of experts? If Murong Yu was a half-step immortal, they would have believed him and run away long ago. However, Murong Yu is only a crossing tribulation stage cultivator after all. Although he killed a half-immortal with one punch, it didn't mean that he was very strong. Arrogant. A first-step immortal couldn't stand it anymore. He snorted coldly, took a step forward, and stretched out his big hand to slap Murong Yu in the air. Murong Yu is dead for sure. He will definitely die when a first-step immortal attacks. Everyone in the surroundings felt that Murong Yu would definitely die. After all, the gap between a first-step immortal and a half-immortal was too big. Even if 10 half-immortals joined forces, a first-step immortal could kill them with one slap. A first-step immortal? Very strong. He is almost at the peak of the cultivation world, right? However, it seems that I am not weak either. Seeing the first-step immortal attack, Murong Yu's expression was calm as he muttered to himself. The surrounding people staggered. Murong Yu is only a crossing tribulation stage cultivator? He actually had the strength of a first-step immortal? Arrogant and conceited. Really arrogant. The surrounding people couldn't believe it. Crossing tribulation stage. Even if he was in the late stage of the crossing tribulation stage, there was still a gap of 5 stages between him and a first-step immortal. Moreover, the higher the realm, the greater the gap between the strength. A half-immortal could kill a late-stage transformation stage cultivator with one finger, and a first-step immortal could also kill a half-immortal with one finger. Under the disdainful gaze of the crowd, Murong Yu punched out. There was no earth-shattering power, no dazzling divine light, just a punch. Boom! Under the disdainful gaze of the crowd, the two fists fiercely collided, and a terrifying impact force erupted. Rip! With the place where they were fighting as the center, the void began to collapse and tear apart in the distance. The terrifying impact force erupted, and a few half-immortals who were relatively close to them let out miserable shrieks. They were actually crushed by the terrifying impact force. Everyone's eyes revealed a look of horror, and they immediately teleported away. A large part of the void collapsed, and even the half-immortals were killed by the aftermath of their battle. However, The figures of the two people involved only swayed slightly, but they stood still on the spot. Everyone was deeply shocked. Only now did they know that Murong Yu indeed had the strength of a first-step immortal. He wasn't being arrogant, but he really had the strength. He was only at the crossing tribulation stage. How could he fight against a first-step immortal? Everyone was shocked, and they looked at Murong Yu as if they were looking at a monster. At the same time, their souls were constantly trembling. Chapter 292. Although he had cultivated for less than 20 years, he had the power to fight against a first-step immortal and could easily kill a half-immortal. How could one not be shocked when such strength appeared in a single person? Even these half-immortals couldn't help but tremble. Murong Yu's strength wasn't enough to kill a first-step immortal, or perhaps he was far inferior to those experienced first-step immortals. However, he had the power to fight. Moreover, with his spatial treasure, there weren't many people in the cultivation world who could kill him. Perhaps, Murong Yu could calmly leave in front of a half-step immortal. More than a dozen half-immortals and 2 first-step immortals died. The cultivation world should be shocked, right? Those sects should have a headache because of this. If I kill all of you today, won't those sects vomit blood from the pain? Murong Yu stood on the ground with an unchanged expression, but his indifferent voice spread far and wide. A half-immortal realm expert was definitely the pillar of a sect. It was the existence of these people that supported a large sect, allowing this sect to stand tall in the cultivation world for many years without falling. In the cultivation world, there were countless cultivators like the sand in the Ganges. Those who could cultivate to the transformation stage were few and far between. Even in the 10 great sects, transformation stage cultivators were the backbone of the cultivation world. It should be known that a clan with a transformation stage cultivator in charge could even become a first-rate clan in the cultivation world. One could imagine how rare transformation stage cultivators were. The death of a transformation stage cultivator was enough to make a large sect feel pain, let alone a half-immortal who was even rarer and more powerful than a transformation stage cultivator. They were first-step immortals. Even in the 10 great sects, there weren't many half-immortals, and first-step immortals were even rarer. One could imagine how angry Zhushenzong would be when the news of 2 first-step immortals being killed in the immortal tomb spread out. How could the cultivation world be angry? They wanted to take revenge on Murong Yu for the death of their chief disciple. However, many half-immortals and first-step immortals had died because of this. Zhushenzong would definitely feel pain. The death of a first-step immortal would shake the cultivation world. Now, it seemed like Murong Yu wanted to kill these first-step immortals and half-step immortals. Arrogant. When they heard Murong Yu's words, everyone present couldn't help but sneer. Although Murong Yu's strength, there were still a few step immortals present. Wouldn't it be easy for a few first-step immortals to kill him? Step immortals and mortals' bloods. Today, I'll use the blood of a half-immortal to dye the immortal necropolis red. Murong Yu narrowed his eyes as his cold voice spread far and wide. Everyone sneered in their hearts. None of them believed that Murong Yu had the ability to kill them in front of a first-step immortal. Swish suddenly, Murong Yu took a step forward and disappeared from where he stood. When he reappeared, he was already in front of a half-step immortal. At the same time, he ruthlessly punched the half-step immortal's body with lightning speed. With a loud bang, the sneering half-step immortal was directly blasted into pieces by Murong Yu's powerful and terrifying strength. He directly killed a half-step immortal with one punch. Although it was a sneak attack, there was no doubt that Murong Yu's strength was very strong. Today, none of you can escape. Murong Yu sneered. He had made up his mind to let these sects bleed. Killing transformation stage immortals and transformation stage immortals wouldn't hurt them. But what if he killed half-step immortals? If half-step immortals weren't enough, then he would kill first-step immortals. He would kill them until they turned pale at the mention of his name. Murong Yu wasn't a good person to begin with. It could be said that he was a petty person who sought revenge for the smallest grievance. He'd usually kill anyone who wanted him dead. In fact, these people wanted to kill him when he was breaking through. This made him very angry. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't have the ability to destroy these sects, he would have already brought people to kill them. However, although he couldn't destroy these sects, he could still kill their top experts to make them feel the pain. The cultivation world has been peaceful for too long. The 10 great sects have always been entrenched in the cultivation world. They ruled the cultivation world, making other forces unable to raise their heads. As the saying goes, 30 years in the East, 30 years in the West. The Emperor has to take turns. The era of these sects should come to an end. Murong thought in his heart. At the same time, he teleported again and disappeared. After entering the crossing tribulation stage, he could use teleportation. Bang! Under the combination of Murong teleportation and army character formula, Murong speed sharply increased by dozens of times. Before his figure appeared, his huge fist had already blasted the second half-step immortal expert into pieces. In an instant, 2 half-step immortals had already died in the hands of Murong. Murong's terrifying speed and strength once again shocked these half-step immortals. No one knew who took the lead, but a half-step immortal quickly teleported and retreated. Clearly, he was scared and didn't dare to continue staying here. Murong had the strength to fight against a first-step immortal. And a first-step immortal could kill a half-step immortal with a finger. In an instant, dozens of half-step immortal experts flew in all directions in panic. "You are courting death." Seeing Murong consecutively killing 2 half-step immortals in front of their eyes, the first-step immortals were immediately furious. Murong's actions were clearly looking down on them and slapping their faces. Therefore, the furious first-step immortals roared and attacked Murong at the same time. Murong's face revealed a disdainful smile, but his heart was a little heavy. Although he had the strength to fight against a first-step immortal, there were 5 of them. If the 5 of them joined forces to kill him, Murong felt a lot of pressure in his heart. He sneered and glanced at the 5 first-step immortals. "Idiots, I will kill these half-step immortals first. If you have the ability, then kill me before I kill all of them." As he spoke, Murong took a step forward and appeared 100,000 miles away. 100,000 miles in one step. Seeing how terrifying Murong's teleportation was, the 5 first-step immortals looked at each other in dismay. Their faces were filled with shock, but more than that, they were filled with killing intent. Even if they used their full strength, they could only teleport tens of thousands of miles away. It was definitely not more than 100,000 miles away. However, if they knew that this was not Murong's extreme speed, would they be so ashamed that they would commit suicide? Generally, tribulation passing stage cultivators could teleport, but they could only teleport a few thousand miles away. The stronger they were, the greater the distance they could teleport. A first-step immortal's teleportation speed was definitely not more than 100,000 miles away. However, Murong was a freak. After he comprehended teleportation, he combined it with the soldier formula. Not to mention 100,000 miles, even hundreds of thousands of miles was a piece of cake for him. Whoosh, whoosh. Just as Murong appeared 100,000 miles away, a ripple appeared in the void. Following that, a half-immortal realm cultivator emerged from the void. It was a half-step immortal who had teleported here. "I've been waiting for you for a long time." The half-step immortal had just appeared in the void and was about to teleport when he heard a familiar voice filled with killing intent. "It's Murong." The half-step immortal turned pale with fright. His body shook and he was about to teleport away. However, a terrifying force suddenly bombarded his body. "Is he dead? How could Murong appear in front of me? Impossible, this must be a dream." The half-step immortal roared in his heart. He had already been killed by Murong with a punch. Bastard. Seeing that Murong had killed a half-step immortal, the 5 first-step immortals were furious. They exploded with their strongest power and attacked Murong. The powerful and terrifying power could destroy heaven and earth. It squeezed the void within a radius of tens of thousands of miles, causing it to constantly collapse and shatter. Under such circumstances, it was impossible to teleport. Although Murong Yu's speed was fast, as long as he couldn't teleport, wouldn't it be easy to kill him with their methods? Murong Yu sneered. His body shook and teleported several tens of thousands of miles away. Immediately after, he repeatedly teleported and circled around. He actually appeared behind the 5 first-step immortals. During this process, one of the half-step immortals was killed by Murong Yu's palm. Motherf asterisk Kerr. The 5 first-step immortals cursed. They continuously attacked with terrifying power. However, they were unable to do anything to Murong Yu. On the contrary, during this process, 3 more half-step immortals were killed by Murong Yu. Murong Yu was ruthless. He was determined to kill all of these half-step immortals. Finally, one of the first-step immortals reacted and said in a deep voice, "Spread out and shatter the void in different directions. Don't let him teleport." Murong Yu's teleportation was too terrifying. They couldn't catch up with him at all. However, if the 5 of them attacked the void from different directions, Murong Yu wouldn't be able to teleport. Seeing this, Murong Yu frowned slightly. In this way, he really couldn't teleport. Although his speed wasn't fast, he didn't have the element of surprise. Moreover, the anger of the 5 first-step immortals was not easy to deal with. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. With a thought, Murong Yu teleported and disappeared without a trace. Motherf asterisk Kerr, that bastard ran away. The 5 first-step immortals were just about to seal the void when they realized that Murong Yu had disappeared. This made them even angrier. A shrill scream came from afar. The 5 first-step immortals' expressions changed. They immediately used teleportation and rushed over. Soon, they arrived at the place where the scream came from. That bastard killed the people at the entrance. One of the first-step immortals shouted angrily. The place where they were now was the entrance that the 10 great sects had created together. However, the entrance had already disappeared. Without the restraint of the crowd, the gap in the restriction would naturally heal by itself. Chapter 293. At the entrance, the experts from the 10 great sects had stopped again. Apart from not allowing the disciples from the 10 great sects to enter, they were also keeping the entrance open. At this moment, when the 5 first-step immortals arrived, the restriction had already been restored. There were several corpses lying near the restriction. They were the elders of the 10 great sects who were in the transformation stage. Murong Yu. The 5 first-step immortals gritted their teeth because they were all from the 10 great sects. Naturally, they would gnash their teeth at Murong Yu when they saw the dead transformation stage elders. These cultivators in the transformation stage could not withstand a single blow from Murong Yu. At this moment, where was Murong Yu? The 5 first-step immortals looked at the restriction angrily. Although they were powerful and had 5 first-step immortals, they could not break the restriction. After all, the restriction outside the immortal tomb was very terrifying. At that time, the 10 great sects had sent many experts to break the restriction. Could it be that Murong Yu has already left the immortal tomb? The 5 first-step immortals looked at each other and saw the anger and killing intent on each other's faces. He should have escaped from here. In order to prevent us from catching up, he killed these people and prevented us from chasing after him. One of the first-step immortals pondered for a moment and then said, "According to normal speculation, this should be the case. However, Murong Yu had a spatial magic treasure. According to Murong Yu's style, he would have directly used a spatial magic treasure to escape. Why would he do so much?" Everyone vaguely felt that Murong Yu did not simply escape from here. At the same time, while the 5 first-step immortals were hesitating, Murong Yu had already appeared at another entrance. Bang! A gigantic hand descended from the sky as a terrifying force squeezed the void, causing it to shatter continuously. A world-destroying aura was emitted in an incomparably violent manner, causing one's heart to shudder. The cultivators near the teleportation array looked at the huge hand descending from the sky in shock. Their faces turned pale, and they even forgot to run away. Bang! 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 The big palm slapped down, and the surrounding cultivators were instantly sent flying like broken rag dolls. At the same time, the big hand had already covered the entrance. After an earth-shattering explosion, the entrance that had been maintained by the cultivator's power directly shattered. In the next moment, the immortal burial mound's restriction shook and a powerful force erupted. The gap that had been opened was actually healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a few breaths of time, the restriction that the sex had spent a great deal of effort to break was restored just like that. Motherfucker, which bastard is so immoral? The cultivators outside couldn't help but curse. However, when they thought about the gigantic hand that covered the sky and covered the earth, they could not help but feel a lingering fear. Fortunately, the giant hand did not have any killing intent. Otherwise, they would not have been sent flying. They would have been smashed into smithereens. The one who attacked was Muronyu. After restoring the restriction with one palm, Muronyu took a step forward. After many times of practice, Muronyu's speed was even more terrifying. With the combination of teleportation and the army formula, Muronyu could already cross hundreds of thousands of miles with one step. He was several times faster than those one-step immortals. It was very terrifying. Using a similar method, Muronyu restored all the entrances of the immortal burial mound. Unless the experts of the major sects come, it is basically impossible to break the restriction. It will take some time for them to arrive. This way, it will be enough for me to kill the experts above the half-immortal level in the immortal burial mound. Muronyu sneered and took a step forward, disappearing on the spot. In the immortal burial mound, there were not many half-immortal experts, but there were still dozens of them. These people all rushed in because they knew that Muronyu had broken through and wanted to kill Muronyu. In addition to the top 10 sects, there were also some experts from the major sections. These people had already been sentenced to death by Muronyu. Swoosh! A half-immortal expert was teleporting towards one of the entrances. After witnessing Muronyu's powerful and abnormal strength, he was completely afraid and did not dare to continue besieging Muronyu. After all, with his strength, once he encountered Muronyu, he would definitely die. With a teleportation, he appeared on the ground tens of thousands of miles away. When this half-immortal wanted to continue teleporting, his pupils fiercely shrank. In front of him, a black-clothed youth was looking at him with an indescribable smile. Muronyu! This half-immortal turned pale with fright and cried out in alarm. His figure swayed, and he retreated explosively. The black-clothed youth was indeed Muronyu. Muronyu grinned and then punched out. With a loud bang, this half-immortal expert did not even have time to scream before he was shattered by Muronyu's punch. A one-step immortal could kill a half-immortal with one finger. Muronyu now has the strength of a one-step immortal. Killing a half-immortal was a piece of cake. After taking the storage ring of this half-immortal, Muronyu took a step forward and disappeared. In the following time, Muronyu used his incomparably terrifying and unparalleled speed to search for half-immortals in the Immortal Tomb. Now, all the entrances of the Immortal Tomb have been destroyed by Muronyu. These people are simply unable to leave the Immortal Tomb. Although the Immortal Necropolis was huge, Muronyu could cover a distance of several 100,000 li with a single step. Although these people were hiding in various places of the Immortal Necropolis, they were all discovered by Muronyu and killed. During this process, the 5 one-step immortals finally reacted. Muronyu did not leave the Immortal Tomb. Instead, he used his speed to kill half-immortals. This made them very angry and their killing intent soared. But there is nothing they can do. After all, although their speed is fast, it is far inferior to Muronyu. Often, when they arrived at the place where Muronyu was found, they would only see a mess and cultivator corpses. And Muronyu has already disappeared without a trace. What made these one-step immortals angry the most is that these half-immortals killed by Muronyu were all half-immortals. There are also transformation stage cultivators from various large sections. For a time, everyone in the Immortal Tomb is in a state of panic. Even those half-immortal experts feel very sullen. This situation is simply like catching a turtle in a jar or beating a dog behind closed doors. If we let Muronyu kill like this, all the half-immortals in the Immortal Tomb will be killed. A one-step immortal frowned and said with killing intent, "Now, the only thing we can do is to gather them. Otherwise." Thus, the 5 one-step immortals sent out a message and began to gather the half-immortals. Time passed by. Murong-Yu relied on his unparalleled speed to move unhindered in the immortal tomb. Everywhere he passed, there would be chaos, wails, and howls. He killed so many half-immortals from various large sects that their faces turned pale at the mention of his name. More than half of the half-immortals have been killed, right? But unfortunately, the remaining half-immortals have been gathered by those 5 one-step immortals. It is not possible to kill all of them. Murong-Yu frowned as he floated in the air and pondered. However, I killed more than 20 half-immortals. In addition, the heavenly tribulation killed more than 10 half-immortals, especially those 2 one-step immortals. I'm afraid that these sects will feel the heartache, right? Murong-Yu sneered. 50 half-immortals. 5 half-immortals, even in the cultivation world, was not a small number. Although the large sects did not lose many half-immortals. However, these were half-immortals, the pinnacle of the cultivation world. Even if only one of them died, it would be a huge loss. It would also cause the 10 great sects to feel the heartache. Since that is the case, I will let them off for now. Murong-Yu sneered. Then, his figure flashed and disappeared. He entered the Hichu Luoshu world. In the Hichu Luoshu world, the large black dog and the fire-eyed golden ape were lying on the ground like dead dogs. Previously, they had fought against nearly 20 half-immortals and 2 one-step immortals. Although these 2 fellows were powerful, they were almost killed by those 2 one-step immortals. They were only half-immortals. The gap between them and one-step immortals was too big. However, these 2 were ancient mutated beasts. Although they were almost killed, their lives were not in danger. After Murong-Yu returned, he directly used his life force to heal their injuries. Under the effect of a life force's terrifying recovery ability, the wounds of the large black dog and the fire-eyed golden ape healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. During this process, Murong-Yu also summed up his strength. As usual, once Murong-Yu's strength broke through, he directly entered the late stage of the tribulation passing stage. Fortunately, he had not reached the peak of the late stage of the tribulation passing stage. Otherwise, his 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation would descend. Looking at Murong-Yu's current situation, it was not suitable for him to undergo the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation. After all, Murong-Yu did not know if his 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation would be more powerful than ordinary people. If it was too terrifying, even he would not be able to safely pass through it. The breakthrough of the cultivation realm caused Murong-Yu's strength to increase greatly. And what made Murong-Yu the most surprised was that his physical body had finally reached the immortal tool level. An immortal tool level physical body had extremely terrifying strength. Murong-Yu had tried it before. Even if he did not use the power of chaos and only used his physical body strength, he could still kill a half-immortal with 1 punch. After his physical body broke through to the immortal tool level, Murong-Yu's entire body was a moving immortal tool. Moreover, it was an immortal tool that could unleash its full power. Just imagine, an immortal tool that had powerful strength and many kinds of combat skills. How terrifying would its power be? At the very least, Murong-Yu could not imagine how terrifying his strength would be when he unleashed his full power. At the very least, he could fight against a first-step immortal. What made Murong-Yu the most surprised was that the Tree of Life in his Dantian had actually grown from less than 200 meters to 10 meters tall. The Tree of Life grew taller and taller, and the power of chaos that it absorbed in every instant also increased exponentially. It was at least 10 times more than before, or even more. Chapter 294. 10 million years. Murong-Yu couldn't help but laugh loudly when he saw his lifespan increase again. In the cultivation world, even half-step immortals who were in the transformation stage only had a lifespan of 500,000 years. However, Murong-Yu was only in the tribulation stage, and his lifespan had already increased to 10 million years. This was 10 million years, not 1,000 years or 10,000 years. The current Murong Yu's lifespan was 20 times that of a one-step immortal. The current Murong Yu could use his lifespan to exhaust his lifespan to death without him needing to do anything. After all, other than him, there weren't many ordinary experts who could reach 500,000 years. Murong Yu was enough to laugh proudly in the cultivation world. 10 million years of lifespan, immortal artifact, level, physical body, and strength comparable to a one-step immortal. As long as Murong Yu was careful, he could definitely do whatever he wanted in the cultivation world. Of course, if he were to face the half-step immortals, who were the top existences in the cultivation world, Murong Yu was still a little weak. However, Murong Yu was only in the tribulation stage. Once he broke through to the transformation stage, Murong Yu felt that he could definitely defeat half-step immortals. If he continued to grow like this, when Murong Yu broke through to the half-step immortal realm, he would probably have the strength to fight immortals. Of course, this was only Murong Yu's thought. Whether he really had such great strength or not, it had yet to be proven. However, even if Murong Yu's strength wasn't that strong, he was definitely not weak. F***CK. I'm going to go out and kill them all. While Murong Yu was muttering to himself, the injuries of the big black dog and the fire-eyed golden ape were already healed under his treatment. When he thought of how many people had surrounded the three of them and almost killed him, forcing him to use his trump card, the big black dog couldn't help but fly into a rage. Anger rose from his heart, and he shouted that he wanted to go out and kill those people. The fire-eyed golden ape looked at the big black dog with disdain. With your strength? You'll be killed by those two one-step immortals as soon as you go out. Woof, woof, woof. The large black dog glared furiously at the fire-eyed golden ape and continued to bark madly. However, he did not bring up the topic of going out to slaughter them. Obviously, he also knew that his strength was not much. Although he could kill half immortals, there was still a huge gap between him and a first-step immortal. Hearing the large black dog's words, Murong Yu's eyes suddenly lit up. Right now, they had the large black dog, the fire-eyed golden ape, and the 100,000 members of the Primal Chaos Army. This was a powerful force that could kill any first-step celestial. However, now that the 5 first-step immortals were gathered together, even a sneak attack wouldn't be able to kill any of them. After all, cultivators at this level had extremely fast reactions and great strength. If one couldn't kill them in one strike, it would be difficult to kill them again. Those people have already been reduced to ashes by the tribulation lightning, Murong Yu said calmly. Ha, they're all dead? The large black dog stood up on his hind legs and started to laugh maniacally. When he thought about how those cultivators who had almost killed him had already been reduced to ashes, the large black dog felt very satisfied. After a long while, the large black dog gritted his teeth and said, "Being killed by the heavenly tribulation is too easy for them. Being eaten by Lord Heavenly Dog is the best ending for them. Don't worry, there will be cultivators for you to eat in the future." Murong Yu patted the large black dog's head, his eyes shining brightly. "Master, which sector are we going to destroy?" The fire-eyed golden ape instantly looked at Murong Yu, and the large black dog's eyes also lit up. Murong Yu was a little helpless. These two guys were also people who wanted to see the world in chaos. However, their tempers were very similar to his. Those cultivators who dared to kill me when I broke through that day. Do you guys remember their sex? Murong Yu looked at the two guys who wanted to see the world in chaos and asked calmly. Haha, of course. Apart from the 10 great sects, there are also... Then, the large black dog rattled off a long list of sections. Murong Yu looked at the large black dog with a dark expression. There are so many sects. At that time, there were indeed many cultivators, but apart from the 8 great sects of the 10 great sects, the large black dog actually mentioned over a dozen sections. This made Murong Yu suspect whether these sects were added by the large black dog out of thin air in order to eat more cultivators. Of course, I remember them clearly. There are only those that I have forgotten, and there are definitely not many, the large black dog said with a serious expression. However, the saliva that flowed out from the corner of his mouth betrayed him. Murong Yu's eyes shone brightly, and his killing intent soared. He was thinking about when he should take revenge on these sections. Now, Murong Yu even had the thought of destroying these giants in his heart. After all, the cultivation world was ruled by a few giants for a long time, and it was too easy. With these giants existing, there would be countless geniuses being strangled and countless forces unable to rise. I want to turn the cultivation world upside down. Killing intent flashed in Murong Yu's heart, and one idea after another continuously appeared in his mind. At this time, the cultivation world had already turned upside down. Half immortals were already at the pinnacle of the cultivation world. Normally, one of them might not even die in tens or hundreds of years. But today, dozens of half immortals were killed, and there were also 2 first-step immortals. First-step immortals were existences that were infinitely close to becoming immortals, but they had actually died, and there were even 2 of them. At this time, Zhushenzong could no longer be described as angry. 2 first-step immortals were killed, and there were also a few half-immortals. Even Zhushenzong, one of the 10 great sects, was somewhat unable to bear such a heavy loss. Usually, first-step immortals were the experts of their sect, but now, 2 of them had died, and there was obviously a huge gap between them and the other sects of the 10 great sects. Dozens of half-immortals and 2 first-step immortals were killed, and they were killed by the same person. This caused Murong Yu's name to lose its limelight in the cultivation world, and he was like the sun at noon. At this time, the entire cultivation world was talking about Murong Yu. Murong Yu was so powerful that he could actually kill first-step immortals. How terrifying was this person? An existence that had cultivated for less than 20 years actually had the strength to kill first-step immortals? Such a terrifying aptitude was probably unprecedented, right? The most ironic thing was that Murong Yu was Zhushenzong's disciple back then. For a time, the cultivation world was once again shocked by Murong Yu, and countless people looked at Zhushenzong with ridicule. Who knew that Murong Yu, an expert that had joined the sect more than 10 years ago, would have such a terrifying growth speed? He could kill first-step immortals in less than 20 years. Such a disciple was actually kicked out by Zhushenzong, and today, more than 10 years later, he even killed 2 of Zhushenzong's first-step immortals. What did Zhushenzong feel like? With such a heaven-defying disciple, if Zhushenzong hadn't kicked him out of the sect because he coveted some groundless cultivation methods, then Murong Yu would have been Zhushenzong's most outstanding disciple. Then, there wouldn't have been a situation where the chief disciple and first-step immortals were killed. On the contrary, as long as Murong Yu was given a few more decades, it wouldn't be impossible for him to help Zhushenzong become the leader of the 10 great sects. But now, Zhushenzong had pushed Murong Yu to the opposite side, not to mention helping him become the leader of the 10 great sects. With the relationship between the 2 sides like fire and water, Zhushenzong might decline or even be destroyed because of Murong Yu. Who would have thought that a nobody who was hunted down a few years ago would grow to the point where he could kill first-step immortals? Murong Yu has already become a legend. That's right. Murong Yu has already made a name for himself. Even those big sects can't do anything to him. If they want to kill him, I'm afraid both sides will suffer. And it seems that Murong Yu isn't alone. Now, Murong Yu also has a place in the cultivation world. Even if we can't be on good terms with Murong Yu, we can't offend him. Many sects gave this order. A terrifying expert who could kill first-step immortals from a mortal in just 10 years. If anyone dared to provoke him, they would be courting death. Hidden Fairy Valley and Mystic Moon sect haven't gone against Murong Yu. Now, their 2 sects have almost no losses. As for the other sects, which one of them didn't lose a half-immortal to Murong Yu? These 2 sects really have great foresight. But now, I really want to see how Sect Master Zhushenzong feels after chasing Murong Yu out of Zhushenzong. Everyone in the cultivation world was talking about this matter. Everyone wanted to see Zhushenzong as a joke. Zhuang Ningguang didn't know how the other disciples of Zushenzong felt. He only knew that he felt all kinds of emotions. Regret? Anger? Thinking back to more than 10 years ago, he chased Murong Yu out of the sect for a groundless cultivation method. But now, Murong Yu had already grown to such a high level. It would be a lie if he said that he didn't regret it. But now they were like fire and water. Murong Yu killed Ma Tianyun, 2 first-step immortals and several half-immortals. Zushenzong couldn't bear such a heavy loss. They were destined to fight Murong Yu to the death. Zhuang Ningguang's eyes flashed with a cold light. His face was full of killing intent. Because of Murong Yu's matter, the sect had suffered heavy losses. Even as the sect master, he couldn't bear the consequences. Just a moment ago, he'd almost been stripped of his position as the sect master and was nearly slapped to death by that furious old monster. Even a blind person could see that Murong Yu's potential was limitless. Such a person had actually been driven away. It was easy to imagine how furious those old monsters in the Void Sky sect would be when they found out about this. Murong Yu, you must die. Zhuang Ningguang's eyes flashed with killing intent. His killing intent filled the entire hall. It was very terrifying. In southern Desolate City, Murong Yu had been here for a day. Didn't they say that the young Ape King was being chased here? Why isn't he here yet? Murong Yu sat in a restaurant and listened to the discussions of the people in the restaurant. The most talked about was Murong Yu, followed by the young Ape King who killed the saint child of the Tinji sect. Chapter 295. Bang, bang, bang. The southern wasteland city was located in the southern part of the cultivation world. It was one of the 5 major cities in the cultivation world. It was very lively and powerful. At this time, in the center of the southern wasteland city, 2 young cultivators were fighting. In a normal city, the center of the city was definitely the most prosperous area. It was where the city lord's mansion was located. However, the southern wasteland city was different from other cities. The center of the southern wasteland city was an empty area. It was a huge square with a radius of 1,000 miles. Although it was very spacious, it was one of the most lively places in the southern wasteland city. Every day, countless cultivators would come here to learn from each other and duel. At this time, in the square, 2 young cultivators were fighting. Waves of terrifying power were constantly erupting from the fight. The solid void was constantly torn apart by the aftermath of the fight between the 2 cultivators. The terrifying aura was constantly spreading and gradually covered the entire square, forcing the rest of the people in the square to the side. The square was surrounded by many cultivators. They were watching the fight between the 2 young cultivators in the square with great interest. The 2 young cultivators were at least in the crossing calamity stage. One by one, powerful combat skills burst out, causing the sky to fall and the earth to crack. However, what was surprising was that the strength of the 2 cultivators could shatter the void, but the underground of the square was not damaged. In the square, the fight between the 2 became more and more intense. It seemed that they were really angry. Li Ling, you will die today. Zheng Xia gritted her teeth and looked at her opponent. She was furious and murderous. Li Ling was a young man in his 20s. He could be considered handsome, especially the faint smile on his face, which added to his charm. Zheng Xia, you have said this many times, but I am still not dead. Li Ling's lips curled as he said with a smile. You must die today. Zheng Xia repeated again. Li Ling sneered, but he despised Zheng Xia in his heart. He didn't know what was wrong with this guy. He inexplicably came to challenge him and was defeated by him. Not long after, this bastard seemed to hate him and repeatedly came to find trouble with him. It was just that although Li Ling's strength was not very powerful, Zheng Xia was completely not placed in his eyes. Zheng Xia, I'm warning you. Don't come looking for trouble with me again. Otherwise, I don't mind killing you. Li Ling's anger rose. Ever since he came to the southern wasteland city, he had been in a bad mood. Zheng Xia sneered in his heart. He had long been unhappy with this Li Ling ever since he was defeated in the previous challenge. He felt that it was an insult to him. Following which, he was defeated by Li Ling several times. This made him gnash his teeth in anger at Li Ling, wishing he could kill Li Ling. Humph. Li Ling, you still don't know, right? I've finally broken through and reached the transformation stage. Later, I'll make you wish you were dead. Zheng Xia sneered in her heart. She was already planning how to torture and kill Li Ling. Although Li Ling's strength was powerful, he had yet to reach the transformation stage. The gap between the transformation stage and the tribulation stage was like a natural chasm. No matter how strong Li Ling was, he was no match for him. Zheng Xia laughed. Just as she was about to increase her strength and kill Li Ling, at this moment, he suddenly felt a sense of danger coming from behind him. Zheng Xia was shocked. At this moment, she felt the aura of death. Shocked, she was about to turn her head to take a look. Whoosh! In the void, a golden light shot in from outside the southern wasteland city. Then, it fiercely bombarded Zheng Xia's body. Poor Zheng Xia. He had just broken through to the transformation stage. Before he could even display the strength of the transformation stage, he had already been smashed into a bloody mist by this golden light. After the golden light from outside the city smashed Zheng Xia, it did not stop. Instead, it continued to quickly hit Li Ling, who was standing opposite Zheng Xia at lightning speed. Zheng Xia, who was in the transformation stage, was directly smashed into pieces by this golden light. One could imagine how amazing the power contained in this golden light was. Moreover, the speed of the golden light was so terrifying that Zheng Xia could not even teleport before she was hit to death. Even though Li Ling's strength and experience had become extremely abundant over the years, he still stood on the spot in a daze in the face of the sudden golden light. This is a human. No, this is a demon. Li Ling stared blankly at the golden light that was rapidly enlarging in front of his eyes. He could clearly see that this golden light was actually a demon. It's over. Feeling the terrifying aura from this demon, Li Ling's expression changed. Although his physical body had been bombarded by the tribulation lightning and was much stronger than an ordinary cultivator in the transformation stage, he could feel that if he was hit by the golden light, he would definitely die. However, although he knew that he was in danger and wanted to avoid it, his body could not keep up with his thoughts. I'm dead meat. At this moment, Li Ling's heart was filled with despair. He could only stare blankly at the demon who was quickly crashing into him. He even imagined himself being punched into a bloody mist. Are you tired of living? Just as Li Ling closed his eyes and waited for death, a familiar voice suddenly rang in his ears. At the same time, a large hand appeared out of thin air above his head and directly grabbed him. The scene before Li Ling's eyes suddenly changed. Then, he realized that he had already left the square. Just as he left the square, the dark golden light, which was the demon, had already slammed into the ground where Li Ling had been standing. Boom! A terrifying power erupted from the demon's body and directly smashed the square that was so hard that even a cultivator in the transformation stage could not break, creating a huge crater. Li Ling was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat. If he was hit by the demon, he would definitely be dead. At this moment, Li Ling finally reacted and looked at the person who had saved him. Li Ling was immediately pleasantly surprised. Uncle, why are you here? Looking at Li Ling, Murong-Yu's expression was extremely gloomy. This guy had been training in the cultivation world, but his reaction and other aspects were really unsatisfactory. He was even scared silly just now. If he hadn't happened to save him here, Li Ling would have been killed long ago. A cultivator in the tribulation stage was actually scared silly. Murong-Yu felt embarrassed. If I didn't come, how would I explain it to your father? Murong-Yu said in a low voice. If Li Ling died, and died in such an embarrassing manner, Murong-Yu really would not be able to explain it to Li Feng. Li Ling smiled embarrassedly. He also knew that he was really embarrassed. However, what made him feel strange was that Murong-Yu was also here. However, seeing Murong-Yu's gloomy expression, Li Ling did not ask. Instead, he looked at the square. Debris flew everywhere, and at this moment, the golden light finally revealed his face. It was a demon, an ape with golden fur. It was similar to the fire-eyed golden ape, but it was not a fire-eyed golden ape. The big black dog stood up and used his paw to poke the fire-eyed golden ape beside him. He chuckled and said, "Golden-furred ape, your brother, your brother." The fire-eyed golden ape glared at the big black dog. Although the golden ape in the square was also of the ape race, it was not the ancient beast fire-eyed golden ape. It had nothing to do with him. "Little Ape King, where do you think you're going?" At this moment, a loud shout came from outside the Southern Desolation City. It was like rolling thunder. Most of the cultivators in the Southern Desolation City felt their blood boil. They felt dizzy and their ears rang. Those who were underground were directly knocked out. "Little Ape King? My luck can't be that good, right?" Looking at the ape in the square, Muronyu was startled. Not long ago, he was still talking about the Little Ape King. Not long after, he met the Little Ape King. However, it seemed that the Little Ape King's current situation was not very good. It was obvious that the Little Ape King was attacked by someone. At a glance, the Little Ape King was covered in blood and was in a sorry state. Then, the one who was chasing after him was the protector of the Tianji sect's holy son, Hiyu. Boom! A huge fist suddenly reached out from the 9 heavens and fiercely bombarded the Little Ape King in the square. It wanted to kill the Little Ape King with one punch. The Little Ape King flipped over and stood up. He was not afraid at all and directly punched out. Rumble! 2 huge fists fiercely collided in the void. However, the Little Ape King was obviously no match for Protector Hiyu. His fist was directly smashed into pieces. On the other hand, Protector Hiyu's huge fist only shook violently and continued to bombard the Little Ape King. Murongyu's pupils suddenly shrank. The person who attacked was obviously a first-step immortal. The Little Ape King was slightly weaker. He was not a first-step immortal, but his strength was already close to the first-step immortal realm. It seems that although the Little Ape King has been hunted down, it is not without benefits. His strength has obviously improved a lot. Muronyu nodded. "Uncle, do you know the Little Ape King?" Li Ling came over and asked with a smile. "No." Murongyu's answer was straightforward. Li Ling was startled. "You stay here and don't run around. I'll be back soon." Seeing Hiyu's protector rushing into the Southern Desolation City, Murongyu's face showed an inexplicable smile. He took a step and disappeared on the spot. At the same time, the big black dog and the fire-eyed golden ape also teleported and disappeared. Seeing Murongyu's smile, Li Ling could not help but shiver. Then, a hopeful smile appeared on his face. Looking at Uncle's smile, it seems that there will be a good show to watch. I wonder if he will attack the Little Ape King or kill the Tianji sect's first-step immortal. I'm really looking forward to it. In the Immortal Tomb, there were also a few half-immortals from the Tianji sect who wanted to kill Murongyu. Now, he actually encountered Hiyu's protector, a first-step immortal from the Tianji sect. How could Murongyu hold back? Chapter 296. With one step, Murongyu's figure flashed and appeared in the square beside the Little Ape King. At the same time, the Celestial Sect's first-step immortal's huge fist had already shattered the void, carrying with it a terrifying aura that could destroy heaven and earth. The powerful and terrifying aura and the monstrous power shrouded the entire Southern Wasteland City, suppressing everyone. If this fist landed, the entire square would definitely be smashed into pieces. The vicinity of the square, and even the central area of the Southern Wasteland City, would also be smashed into pieces. Countless cultivators would be implicated and die innocently. Murongyu's brows slightly wrinkled as he considered whether or not he should throw a punch. If he could block the attack of the Celestial Sect's first-step immortal, it would be very simple. At least he would not suffer any injuries. However, many cultivators near the square would definitely be killed. Murongyu was not the kind of person to kill innocent people. Moreover, if he did so, he would definitely attract the attention of the Southern Wasteland City's lord. Who are you? Do not act presumptuously in the Southern Wasteland City. An angry shout came from the direction of the city lord's mansion. Suddenly, several figures appeared in the sky above the Southern Wasteland City. Each of them emitted an extremely powerful aura that could shake heaven and earth. 3 first-step immortals. Murong Yu's pupils shrank. He had already seen through the strength of these 3 people. At the same time, the celestial sect's first-step immortal was also startled. Because just a moment ago, 3 divine wills that were not inferior to his own had locked onto him. Deng Hualin knew that these were the experts of the Southern Wasteland City. The Southern Wasteland City was one of the 5 major cities of the cultivation world. Fighting was not prohibited here. Moreover, the square of the Southern Wasteland City was a place for cultivators to settle their grudges and disputes. However, there was a limit to this. Experts above the half-immortal level were absolutely not allowed to fight in the city. Experts of this level could easily kill countless cultivators with just a slight aftershock. If these people were to fight in the city, the entire Southern Wasteland City would be razed to the ground. Deng Hualin's pupils shrank. At the same time, he withdrew his power and did not dare to continue attacking. Although the Celestial Sect was powerful, the Southern Wasteland City was not weak. Moreover, this was the Southern Wasteland City. Even if Fectus Sect was located tens of thousands of miles away. If he dared to attack in the city, he definitely wouldn't suspect these 3 first-step immortals. In fact, even more first-step immortals would directly attack him and kill him. Although a 1-step immortal was powerful, he was not invincible. The strength of the Southern Wasteland City was definitely not limited to just 3 1-step immortals. Seeing that someone had stopped Deng Hualin, Murong Yu and the little Ape King heaved a sigh of relief. Murong Yu heaved a sigh of relief because he didn't have to do it himself, and the little Ape King could use this opportunity to recover his strength. It had been a few months. He had been chased by Deng Hualin for a few months. If it wasn't for the fact that he was quite powerful, he would have been killed a long time ago. Moreover, other than Deng Hualin, there were many other experts from the Fectus sect who were pursuing the Little Ape King. "You are the Little Ape King?" Murong Yu turned to look at the Little Ape King and asked indifferently, "Who are you?" The Little Ape King was surprised by the sudden appearance of this human cultivator. This was because he saw that Murong Yu was only a tribulation passing stage cultivator. Only a cultivator of this stage dared to appear in the square under Deng Hualin's attack. If this person wasn't crazy, then he must have absolute power. Looking at Murong Yu, the Little Ape King didn't think that Murong Yu was crazy. In fact, he even vaguely sensed the terrifying energy of a 1-step immortal from Murong Yu. Murong Yu said indifferently. The Little Ape King's eyes suddenly shone brightly, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. However, it disappeared in the blink of an eye. Although the Little Ape King was born not long ago, he had heard of Murong Yu's great name. In fact, there weren't many people in the cultivation world who hadn't heard of Murong Yu's great name. Enemies flying all over the sky, moving treasure trove, vicious, scheming, big devil. In an instant, these words appeared in the Little Ape King's mind. These were all the cultivator's descriptions of Murong Yu. Originally, the Little Ape King thought that a powerful person like Murong Yu would show off his abilities no matter how he looked at it. However, he didn't expect that the legendary Big Devil was actually a young man who didn't have any special characteristics. He was just a little delicate and good-looking. In fact, Murong Yu had been cultivating for almost 20 years. In addition to the more than 10 years before he started cultivating, Murong Yu was only in his 30s. Due to the rapid increase in his strength, Murong Yu still maintained his youthful appearance of around 20 years old. I wonder what the famous Murong Yu of the cultivation world wants to teach me? The Little Ape King looked at Murong Yu and said with a smile. The Little Ape King had already guessed that Murong Yu definitely had a motive for suddenly appearing beside him. However, he didn't know what it was exactly. The Little Ape King approved of Murong Yu from the bottom of his heart. Therefore, he didn't reject him. "Let's work together." Murong Yu smiled. Work together? The Little Ape King had a puzzled expression on his face. He really couldn't think of what was there to work together between the two of them. Moreover, they didn't seem to know each other before. Murong Yu pointed at Deng Hualin, who was walking over with a murderous aura, and said, "Let's work together and kill him." The two of them didn't use telepathy to talk. Although their voices weren't loud, everyone present was a cultivator. Their words were clearly heard by everyone present. Of course, Deng Hualin, who had stopped attacking, also heard every word clearly. So he's Morong Yu. It said that he has killed many half-immortals. He even killed 2 first-step immortals from Zushinzong. The surrounding cultivators were shocked when they heard Morong Yu's words. Morong Yu wants to work with the Little Ape King to kill the first-step immortal from the Fecta sect. The surrounding cultivators couldn't help but gasp when they heard that Morong Yu wanted to work with the Little Ape King. That was a first-step immortal, a peak existence in the cultivation world. The two of them were actually planning to kill such a person. There was no doubt about Morong Yu's strength. Not long ago, he had killed 2 first-step immortals. However, that was because of the heavenly tribulation. As for Morong Yu's strength, they didn't think that he could kill a first-step immortal. As for the Little Ape King, it was even more impossible. He had been chased by Deng Hualin for several months. If he could kill a first-step immortal, he would have done so long ago. However, he didn't even have the strength to shake off Deng Hualin. You don't know what's good for you. Deng Hualin almost died of anger when he heard Morong Yu's words. If the 3 first-step immortals from the southern desolate city hadn't locked onto him, he would have killed Morong Yu with one slap. He was just a tribulation passing stage cultivator. So what if Morong Yu could kill a half-step immortal? He was still nothing in the eyes of a first-step immortal. Deng Hualin was confident that he could kill Morong Yu with one slap. Ha ha! The Little Ape King, who was covered in blood, laughed loudly when he heard Morong Yu's words. He patted Morong Yu's shoulder and said, "Haha, brother, not bad. I wanted to kill this old bastard for a long time. Mother of Asterisk Cur, he's been following me like a shadow for the past few months. It's so Asterisk King annoying." The surrounding cultivators' faces darkened. The Little Ape King actually described Deng Hualin, a first-step immortal, as a shadow. How would Deng Hualin feel? In an instant, countless cultivators' eyes were on Deng Hualin. At this moment, Deng Hualin was full of killing intent as he looked at Morong Yu. His face was as black as ink, and he didn't hide his killing intent towards the Little Ape King at all. "Although I really want to kill this old bastard, can we do it?" The Little Ape King was a straightforward person and said whatever was on his mind. Just as he said, he really wanted to kill Deng Hualin. After all, he had been chased by a person for a few months and still couldn't shake him off. One could imagine how sullen he was. However, he had some doubts about Morong Yu's strength. Although Morong Yu was strong and he wasn't weak, he didn't think that the two of them could kill Deng Hualin together. "Why don't we try and find out?" Morong Yu looked at the Little Ape King and smiled. "Haha, then let's try. Let's see if we can kill this old bastard. However, regardless of whether we can kill this old bastard or not, you are my brother." The Little Ape King patted Morong Yu's shoulder with his fan-sized hand. Deng Hualin was about to die from anger. The anger in his heart was about to ignite himself. His eyes were cold as he looked at Morong Yu and the Little Ape King with incomparable hatred. If they weren't in southern Wasteland City, he would have already killed Morong Yu and the Little Ape King. "Brother, when are we going to do it?" The Little Ape King licked his lips and looked at Deng Hualin with a murderous expression. The Little Ape King couldn't hide his killing intent towards this expert who had chased him for a few months and still let him go. Morong Yu laughed and said, "Although I really want to kill him now, we can't do it in southern Wasteland City. Let's go outside the city." "Okay." The Little Ape King also laughed. He immediately soared into the sky and flew out of southern Wasteland City. Morong Yu smiled and also soared into the sky. He rushed out of the city side by side with the Little Ape King. Two little bastards. Deng Hualin gritted his teeth and soared into the sky, chasing after them. He had made up his mind. This time, even if he had to burn his lifespan, he would still kill Morong Yu and the Little Ape King. Insulting him, a one-step immortal, in public was akin to stepping on his face and dignity. He couldn't take it anymore. Morong Yu and the Little Ape King are joining forces to kill a one-step immortal from the Tianji sect. The moment Morong Yu and the Little Ape King left, The cultivators near the square also soared into the sky. At the same time, the news of the two joining forces quickly spread in southern Wasteland City. In a short period of time, almost all the cultivators in southern Wasteland City knew about this matter. Therefore, countless cultivators left southern Wasteland City and chased after them. No matter the result of this battle, it would cause a sensation in the cultivation world. Chapter 297. Although the Little Ape King was not as fast as Moronyu, he was still extremely fast. Otherwise, he would not have been chased by a one-step immortal for several months without being killed. Although Moronyu was faster than the Little Ape King, he was only walking side by side with the Little Ape King. He was worried that Deng Hualin would attack them halfway. Deng Hualin looked at Moronyu and the Little Ape King with a murderous look, not bothering to hide his killing intent. Apart from the three of them, countless other cultivators rushed out. As long as there were people, there would be onlookers. Humans were the most curious animals. After the Little Ape King and Moronyu left the southern wilderness city, they kept heading south. Soon, they were more than 1,000,000 miles away from the southern wilderness city and stopped on top of an endless mountain range. "You two little bastards, prepare to die." Deng Hualin rushed up and smirked. He slammed his palm down, enveloping Moronyu and the Little Ape King. He wanted to kill them both at the same time. However, as one of the parties involved, Moronyu could feel that most of Deng Hualin's power was locked on the Little Ape King. After all, although Moronyu was detestable, the Little Ape King was even more detestable. The Little Ape King had killed Hiyu, the chosen one of the Tianji sect, right under his nose. Deng Hualin was the chosen one's guardian. Therefore, Deng Hualin hated the Little Ape King to the core. "Brother, are you confident that you can kill this old bastard?" The Little Ape King's body shone with a dazzling golden light as he threw out a punch. At the same time, he turned to look at Moronyu and asked, "I'm not very confident. However, as long as we work together, I think we should be able to kill him." Moronyu laughed. His body was also shining. Rays of black light shot up into the sky and enveloped him firmly, making him look like a demon god. "All right, the two of us will kill this old bastard today." "Ha!" The Little Ape King laughed and unleashed his power without holding back. Rumble! The power of the three of them collided violently in the void. Then they all exploded into pieces. Humph! Although the Little Ape King was powerful, he had yet to reach the first step in mortal realm. Under the impact of the collision, he was immediately forced back. However, Moronyu's strength was extremely terrifying. He actually stood in place without moving. As for Deng Hualin, as a veteran one-step immortal, he was even stronger than Moronyu. After all, Moronyu was only at the tribulation passing stage. Although his strength was comparable to a first-step celestial, he was not a first-step celestial. As a true first-step immortal, Deng Hualin's body had mostly transformed into an immortal body. It was precisely because of his immortal physique that his attacks vaguely carried the might of an immortal, which was extremely terrifying. In fact, cultivators whose strength had reached half immortal already had the pressure of immortals and a trace of immortal power, but it was too thin. If he wanted to unleash the full might of an immortal, he would have to become one. However, although a first-step immortal was only one step away from becoming an immortal, it still wasn't an immortal in the end. The immortal's might that erupted from a first-step immortal could deter ordinary cultivators, but it had no effect on Moronyu. Moronyu was not even afraid of the terrifying power of the heavenly tribulation, let alone the might of an immortal. Seeing that Moronyu was so powerful, the Little Ape King's face was filled with shock. Deng Hualin's expression also became serious, and he re-evaluated Moronyu. Little B asterisk starred, "Your strength is not bad, but you're still not a first-step immortal. Today, I'll show you what it means to be a first-step immortal." Deng Hualin sneered and rushed forward in a flash, throwing a punch at Moronyu. Moronyu sneered. Although he was not a first-step immortal, he definitely had the strength of a first-step immortal. He took a step forward and instantly traversed through space, appeared in front of Deng Hualin and threw a punch. Bang! A terrifying impact erupted from the place where the two of them exchanged blows, and the surrounding void was instantly torn into billions of pieces. The terrifying impact rippled out like water ripples, and the void was constantly torn apart wherever it passed. Both of them let out a muffled groan as they were sent flying. They were actually evenly matched with each other. When a nearby cultivator saw this scene, they could not help but gasp. Murong was only at the crossing calamity stage, but he actually had the strength to contend with a first-step immortal. This was simply too terrifying. Old B** starred, take this. Although the little ape king was also shocked, he did not forget his purpose today. In a flash, he rushed above Deng Hualin's head and threw a punch at him. Although his strength was not as strong as a first-step immortal, the gap was not very big. Otherwise, he would not have just been sent flying. Great Vajra seal. Murong shouted in his heart. Suddenly, a seal the size of a sacred mountain appeared out of thin air and suppressed Deng Hualin. At the same time, Murong took a step forward, traversed billions of space-time, and appeared not far in front of Deng Hualin. Then, he threw out a mighty elephant-pulling fist. Rumble! The three of them fought fiercely. The black divine light that was like a demonic mountain, the golden divine light that was like the sun, and the blue energy that was like a vast ocean constantly crisscrossed in the void, and they fought fiercely. Terrifying waves of energy were constantly emitted, and the void was constantly shattered. The endless mountains under the ground were also bombarded by this terrifying energy, and they had long been smashed into powder. Dragon Elephant Prajna Skill, Tiger Roaring Imperial Fist, Great Vajra seal. Murong had almost used all his combat skills, and the sky changed color. The little ape king also used all his trump cards, and he was even more desperate than Murong. After all, he hated the one-step celestial who had chased after him for months. Deng Hualin was after all a veteran one-step immortal. He used one combat skill after another to fight Murong and the little ape king together, and he was not at a disadvantage. Murong could not help but sigh. He had underestimated a one-step immortal. The three of them fought for a long time, but they were still evenly matched. It was impossible for Murong and the little ape king to kill Deng Hualin, and it was also impossible for Deng Hualin to kill them. Murong and the little ape king could not help but feel anxious. Although the two of them seemed to have fought to a draw with Deng Hualin, they were still alone in the end. Apart from Deng Hualin, there were also one-step immortals from the Fecta sect who were chasing after the little ape king. If a second one-step immortal caught up, Murong and the little ape king would be in danger. Great Ancestor Deng, let me give you a hand. Just when Murong and the little ape king were feeling anxious, a loud shout came from afar, and a powerful aura quickly flew over from the horizon. Murong and the little ape king looked at each other, and they both saw the uneasy look in each other's eyes. Boom! A huge fist shattered a large part of the void, penetrating through billions of space-time obstacles, and blasted towards Murong and the little ape king. Deng Hualin was immediately overjoyed, and he also punched out. Murong sneered, and with a backhand palm, he shattered the incoming fist. At the same time, he felt relieved and sneered. A mere half-immortal wants to die? You're courting death. A half-immortal was not a threat to Murong and the little ape king. Of course, there was also a veteran one-step immortal. With the two of them working together, Murong and the little ape king were immediately suppressed. Deng Hualin laughed, and his attacks became even sharper. Two little bastards die. With the addition of the half-immortal from the sect, the pressure on Deng Hualin was greatly reduced, and his attacks became even sharper, directly forcing the little ape king to retreat. Murong and the little ape king looked at each other. Kill this half-immortal first. The instant they exchanged glances, the two of them suddenly erupted, and their strongest attacks blasted towards Deng Hualin, directly forcing Deng Hualin to retreat. At the same time, the two of them directly rushed towards the half-immortal from the Tianji sect. Boom! Boom! The two of them attacked at the same time, and the half-immortal was caught unprepared and was directly sent flying. However, this half-immortal was also very powerful. He was actually able to withstand the joint attack of Murong Yu and the Little Ape King without dying. "You blocked Deng Hualin, I'll kill him," Murong Yu coldly shouted and took a step forward, attacking the half-immortal. "Bastard, you're courting death." Seeing this, Deng Hualin was furious. If this half-immortal was killed by Murong Yu, then he would lose even more face. He furiously roared, and with a teleport, he directly rushed towards Murong Yu. During this process, one of his big hands erupted with terrifying power, and with a palm strike, the Little Ape King was sent flying while vomiting blood. The furious Deng Hualin actually erupted with power that was even stronger than his peak state. Just as he was about to kill the Tianji sect's half-immortal, Deng Hualin's attack also arrived. If Murong Yu could withstand Deng Hualin's attack, then he could actually kill this half-immortal. However, Murong Yu didn't dare to take the attack of a veteran first-step immortal head-on. It was too risky. Once he was heavily injured, even if he had the Tree of Life, he would still be in great danger. Roar! Just as Murong Yu was about to summon Misty and teleport away from Deng Hualin's attack, a shocking roar rushed over from the distance. At this moment, a golden lion head as big as a divine mountain appeared out of thin air, majestic and awe-inspiring. The golden lion head carried an aura that could destroy heaven and earth. It fiercely opened its mouth, revealing incomparably sinister white teeth, and fiercely bit towards Deng Hualin. Deng Hualin felt the threat. He withdrew the power that was attacking Murong Yu, and changed it to a punch towards the golden lion head. Little Lion King, seeing this golden lion head, the Little Ape King could not help but exclaim in a low voice, "Little Lion King? The existence that's ranked 6th on the Dragon Phoenix list?" Murong Yu was puzzled, but his movements were not slow, and he directly punched out. Bang! How could this cultivator, who was only in half-immortal realm, be Murong Yu's opponent? He was directly smashed into a bloody mist by a punch. At the same time, Deng Hualin had also smashed the golden lion head in the sky with a punch. Chapter 298. Deng Hualin killed that huge golden lion head with one punch. But on the other side, Murong Yu also killed that half-immortal from Tianji sect. This made Deng Hualin very angry. "Bastard, I want you to die!" Deng Hualin roared. His figure flashed and was about to rush towards Murong Yu. "Eat my fist first." At this moment, a huge cold shout descended from the sky. Following that, a young man whose whole body was flickering with brilliant golden light appeared above Deng Hualin out of thin air. Before his voice fell, a huge fist condensed with heaven-destroying and earth-exterminating power smashed through the void and ruthlessly smashed towards Deng Hualin. Deng Hualin's face revealed a trace of graveness. The power of this young man who suddenly appeared still caused a trace of threat to him. Even if it was him, he wouldn't dare to not block it and be killed by it. Rumble! Deng Hualin's palm slapped forward. Two incomparably terrifying powers violently collided and then exploded, blasting a large area of the void. The young man above the void groaned. In the end, he was not Deng Hualin's opponent and was directly sent flying. And Deng Hualin was also slightly shaken by the bombardment. "Old bastard, die." At this moment, Little Ape King's attack also went up. "Great Vajra Wheel Seal." Murong Yu roared in a low voice and struck out a huge palm imprint containing terrifying power towards Deng Hualin. Deng Hualin roared again and again. But facing the attacks of three most outstanding experts of the younger generation, even if he was powerful as a first-step immortal, he could not break free in a short time. "Little Lion King, why did you come here?" Little Ape King asked in the battle. Little Lion King was the young man who attacked Deng Hualin before. He was one of the 10 great demon kings of Demon Mountain, Golden Lion King's bloodline. He was very powerful, ranked 6th on Dragon Phoenix list. His strength was similar to Little Ape King, who was ranked 4th on Dragon Phoenix list. He was Little Ape King's good friend and enemy. I saw that you were about to die, and I was not happy to see you, old bastard. So I came here. The Little Lion King said as he smashed the void with his fist, causing the sky to constantly collapse. He blasted towards Deng Hualin. Looking at the Little Ape King and the Little Lion King, Murong was also surprised. These two fellows had already cultivated to the half-immortal realm at such a young age. Moreover, their strength was almost comparable to a first-step immortal. Her cultivation speed was much faster than his. Although Murong Yu's strength was comparable to a first-step immortal, the gap between him and these people was too big. In terms of realm alone, Murong Yu could not compare to the two people in the top 10 of the Dragon Phoenix ranking. However, Murong Yu didn't realize that ever since he'd entered the cultivation world, he'd relied on his own hard work for everything. As for the Little Lion King, the Little Ape King, and the other proud sons of heaven from the various large sects and forces, they did not need to work hard for the resources they needed. With the huge force behind them providing them with all kinds of resources, and their talent were not bad, it would be strange if their cultivation levels were not high. In comparison, Murong Yu's growth was countless times faster than theirs. After all, who could possess the strength of a one-step celestial after cultivating for less than 20 years? Although Deng Hualin's strength was strong, he had chased after the Little Ape King for a few months and still could not kill him. On the other hand, the Little Lion King's strength was about the same as the Little Ape King's. When the two of them joined forces, they already had the strength to fight against Deng Hualin. Not to mention, Murong Yu, who had the strength of a first-step immortal, was also abnormal. Therefore, when the Little Lion King joined the battle, Deng Hualin was immediately suppressed to a disadvantage. Seeing that Deng Hualin was at a disadvantage, Murong Yu and the other two fought even harder. One by one, they attacked their own strength to their heart's content, causing Deng Hualin to roar angrily and suffer unspeakable pain. It's worth it to be able to see the most outstanding cultivator of the younger generation fight a first-step immortal. In the distance, countless cultivators watched the battle with excitement. Usually, how could it be so easy to see a battle between experts of this level? Not to mention their battle. Even a first-step immortal, Murong Yu, or an expert of the Little Ape King's level would be difficult to encounter. But today, these four people were fighting here. Just watching them fight had already opened their eyes wide. That Murong Yu is truly powerful. He alone should be enough to fight against Deng Hualin, right? One of the cultivators said in shock. Murong Yu is a monster. He has such powerful strength in less than 20 years of cultivation. It's really shameful for us. An old Tribulation Realm cultivator said, with a face full of shame. Haha, you don't have to be so ashamed. You also said that he's a monster. There aren't many people like him in the entire cultivation world. Most people are the same as us. Another cultivator said with a smile. In fact, there were not many experts at the level of Murong Yu and the Little Ape King in the entire cultivation world. After all, to have such terrifying strength at such a young age, his aptitude was too terrifying. However, there was never a lack of geniuses in the cultivation world. These people were the geniuses of the geniuses, the top of the geniuses. The young people of this generation are stronger than the previous generation. Some of the older cultivators said, there was never a lack of geniuses in every generation, including geniuses at the level of the Little Ape King. But a monster like Murong Yu had never appeared before. Even the Devil Mountain Lord was far inferior to Murong Yu. Of course, this was referring to his aptitude and not the strength of the Devil Mountain Lord. In terms of strength, even if there were a few more Murong Yu, the Devil Mountain Lord still couldn't beat him. Murong Yu is enough to fight against Deng Hualin. Even if he can't kill Deng Hualin alone, Deng Hualin can't kill him either. Although the Little Ape King and the Little Lion King are also very powerful, they're still slightly inferior to Murong Yu. Someone commented, doesn't that mean that Murong Yu's ranking on the Dragon Phoenix list has risen to at least 4th place? Hearing this, a cultivator said in shock. If nothing unexpected happens, that should be the case. In fact, Murong-Yu's strength had indeed suppressed the Little Ape King and the Little Lion King. As for the cultivators below the Little Ape King, if they hadn't reached the immortal realm, they probably wouldn't be able to suppress Murong-Yu. I wonder how big the gap is between Murong-Yu and the top 3 of the Dragon Phoenix list. Someone compared in his heart. Not long ago, Murong-Yu couldn't withstand a single blow from Xuechun, but now it's hard to say. Murong-Yu's strength has increased too quickly, but Xuechun isn't bad either. As for the second place Little Rock King, especially the first place Li Su, they're too mysterious. It's said that no one knows what realm they're at. The top 3 of the Dragon Phoenix list were too powerful. If there was no comparison, it would be difficult to distinguish between the strong and the weak. However, Murong-Yu had already rushed into the 4th place of the Dragon Phoenix list. There was no doubt about this. The outcome is about to be decided. Deng Hualin is going to suffer. At this moment, the surrounding cultivators all looked over with rapt attention. In the distance, under the joint attack of Murong-Yu, the Little Ape King and the Little Lion King, Deng Hualin was already in a state of exhaustion. Boom! Murong-Yu struck out a great Vajra Chakra seal and ruthlessly suppressed it, forcing Deng Hualin to retreat. At the same time, the Little Ape King and the Little Lion King's attacks were also swift and fierce. At this moment, whether it was Deng Hualin, Murong-Yu, or the Little Ape King and the Little Lion King, their bodies were all covered in blood. This was especially true for Deng Hualin. Under the attacks of Murong-Yu and the other 2 experts, his body was in an extremely sorry state, revealing many shocking wounds. Among the 4 of them, only Murong-Yu was considered to be in a better state. Because of the Tree of Life, even if he was injured, he could recover immediately. This shocked the Little Ape King and the others. Deng Hualin, you could die now. Murong-Yu sneered and then shouted, Dark God Prajna. Murong-Yu finally used the strongest move of the Dragon Elephant Prajna technique. Boom! This was Murong-Yu's full-strength attack. Immediately, 2 incomparably huge figures appeared above Murong-Yu's head in the void, emitting an extremely terrifying aura. 2 figures, one golden and one black, the phantoms of gods and demons. The moment the 2 phantoms of gods and demons appeared, they directly threw a punch at Deng Hualin. At this moment, the aura of death suddenly rose in Deng Hualin's heart, and he was instantly terrified. The Little Ape King and the Little Lion King were also shocked, and their bodies swayed and retreated rapidly. Deng Hualin was extremely terrified, and he also wanted the Little Ape King and the Little Lion King to teleport away. However, he realized that he had been locked on by the 2 phantoms of gods and demons. There was no way to escape at all, and he could only fight head-on. Taking a deep breath, Deng Hualin suppressed the fear in his heart and began to frantically increase his strength. He knew that if he could not withstand this attack, he would definitely die. Boom! Deng Hualin condensed all his strength on his fist, and then he directly threw a punch at the phantoms of gods and demons. Rumble! As soon as the 2 forces collided, Deng Hualin's fist instantly shattered. The phantoms of gods and demons also trembled slightly, but the power of the phantoms of gods and demons was indomitable and directly blasted on Deng Hualin's body. Crack! Puffed! Deng Hualin fiercely spat out a large mouthful of blood and flew backward, and the crisp sound of bones breaking could be heard from his body. His bones were probably shattered. Murong-Yu stood in the same place. Although Deng Hualin was blasted away by him, he was not able to kill him in one blow, which made him feel very regretful. He wanted to rush up and kill Deng Hualin, but the blow just now had already consumed all his strength. Even with the Tree of Life, Murong-Yu could not recover the strength that he had consumed in a short period of time. Therefore, he could only stand in the void, leaving Deng Hualin to the Little Ape King and the Little Lion King. Not dead. Chapter 299. When Deng Hualin saw that he wasn't dead, he was happy, but at the same time, he couldn't help but feel terrified. Although he wasn't dead, he was already heavily injured. At this moment, either the little ape king or the little lion king could easily kill him if they rushed up. Run! Although Deng Hualin was unwilling, his life was more important. His figure flashed, and he wanted to teleport away. However, at this moment, a golden light suddenly appeared in the void above his head. Then, with a bang, it directly hit Deng Hualin's head. Pooh! Deng Hualin's head instantly shattered, and his brain matter splattered everywhere. An expert of a generation, a one-step immortal, was actually killed just like that. He wasn't killed by Murong Yu, the little lion king, and the little ape king, but he was hit by a stick and directly killed. He actually died in such a sullen manner. In an instant, countless cultivators, including Murong Yu and the other two people involved, were stunned. Who hit Deng Hualin, a one-step immortal, to death with a stick? Everyone looked at the void in front of them in confusion. At this moment, a smile appeared on Murong Yu's face. He already knew who hit Deng Hualin to death with a stick. The void shattered, and a figure slowly appeared in front of everyone. It was a golden-haired ape with a golden stick in his hand. Not long after the golden ape appeared, the void shattered, and a big black dog appeared beside the golden ape. Woof! F***, golden-haired ape, you're actually so fast. The big black dog looked at the fire-eyed golden ape and barked furiously. Then he opened his mouth and instantly swallowed Deng Hualin's corpse into his stomach. Seeing the fire-eyed golden ape and the big black dog appear, the little ape king and the little lion king instantly revealed vigilant expressions. Although they weren't too seriously injured due to the battle with Deng Hualin, they were constantly suffering from minor injuries. Moreover, their strength was also severely depleted. Most importantly, the fire-eyed golden ape and the big black dog weren't weak either. They were at least half-immortal existences. If they were their enemies, the little ape king and the little lion king probably wouldn't be their match now. Demon race again? The surrounding cultivators were all shocked when they saw the two of them. They shouldn't be from the Yao clan. These two should be Murong Yu's subordinates, a well-informed person said. The news of Murong Yu slaughtering everyone in the immortal tomb and killing dozens of half-immortals had already spread out. Naturally, the news that the fire-eyed golden ape and the big black dog were Murong Yu's subordinates had already spread. It was just that many cultivators had yet to react in time. Murong Yu's two subordinates? The surrounding people couldn't help but gasp. Murong Yu's strength was already very abnormal. And just now, the fire-eyed golden ape had killed Deng Hualin, a first-step immortal, with a single strike. Its strength should not be weak. Otherwise, even if Deng Hualin was severely injured, he was still a one-step celestial after all. Murong Yu is getting stronger and stronger. His two subordinates are at least half-immortals. In the distance, countless cultivators looked at Murong Yu with reverence. Just this alone was enough for these people to be so shocked. If they knew that Murong Yu had 100,000 transformation stage cultivators under him, wouldn't they all be scared silly? Seeing the little ape king and little lion king's vigilance, Murong Yu laughed and said, "Ha, the two of you don't have to be like this. They're my subordinates." At the same time, the fire-eyed golden ape and the big black dog had already arrived behind Murong Yu. The little ape king and the little lion king sized up the two of them and looked at Murong Yu with shock and said, "The two of them are your subordinates?" As demons, they were clearer than other human cultivators. They could tell at a glance that the fire-eyed golden ape was different from the big black dog. They were both ancient mutated beasts, especially the fire-eyed golden ape. As the grandson of the giant ape king, one of the 10 great demon kings of the Demon Mountain, the little ape king wasn't an ordinary ape. He had a higher bloodline among apes. However, he could feel the pressure of a superior being from the fire-eyed golden ape. It was a noble aura from its bloodline. The little ape king knew that this was because the fire-eyed golden ape's bloodline was more noble than his. The little ape king kept sizing up the fire-eyed golden ape. When he saw the eyes of the fire-eyed golden ape, he couldn't help but exclaim, "Fire-eyed golden ape, you're actually a fire-eyed golden ape? Fire-eyed golden ape?" The little Lion King looked at the shocked little Ape King with a strange expression. He didn't understand because he had never heard of the fire-eyed golden ape. The fire-eyed golden ape is the royal family of our ape race. The little Ape King shook his head and smiled bitterly. Perhaps others didn't know, but as a member of the ape race, he was very clear about the status of the fire-eyed golden ape. The fire-eyed golden ape's bloodline was extremely rare, but it was the royal family of the ape race. Although the bloodline was rare, every one of them had great achievements. They were above all the other apes and were the royal family of the ape race. If the fire-eyed golden ape returned to the Demon Mountain now, it would probably be treated as a guest by the giant ape king. It might even be treated like an emperor. Golden-furred ape, you are the royal family of the ape race? This really makes Lord Heavenly Dog laugh. The big black dog stood up and pointed at the fire-eyed golden ape with his paw. He couldn't help but laugh out loud. The fire-eyed golden ape glanced at the little Ape King with a calm expression and remained unmoved. In fact, as a fire-eyed golden ape, he already knew that he was the royal family of the ape race. However, in this world where strength was respected, so what if he was the royal family? Without equal strength, there would be no equal status. It was the same even if he was the royal family. Even if he was an ordinary ape, as long as he had super strength, his status wouldn't be bad. The fire-eyed golden ape, who deeply understood this, didn't feel anything about the royal family at all. Murong also looked at the fire-eyed golden ape in surprise. Although he knew that the fire-eyed golden ape was an ancient beast, he didn't know that it was the royal family of the ape race. What royal family? It's all fleeting. I'm only the Lord's subordinate now. The fire-eyed golden ape looked at the little Ape King and said calmly. The little Ape King looked at Murong in surprise. He was once again shocked by Murong. He could even subdue the royal family of the ape race. This person was really unfathomable. As demons, they had the pride of demons in their hearts. It was basically impossible for them to be the subordinates of humans. Moreover, the fire-eyed golden ape was the royal family of the ape race. It was basically the royal family of the demon race. Their pride was even greater than ordinary demons. All right, let's return to Southern Desolation City first. Otherwise, if another first step immortal comes, we'll be in for a tragedy. Murong said calmly, and then flew back to Southern Desolation City first. In the best restaurant in Southern Desolation City, Murong and the others sat around a table and chatted happily. Their friendship with the little Ape King and the little Lion King was forged through fighting. Although the three of them had only known each other for less than a day, after joining forces to fight a first step immortal, the three of them were like old friends for decades. Both the little Ape King and the little Lion King were straightforward people. When dealing with such people, there was no need to worry about whether they were hypocritical or scheming. So refreshing. This is the best day I've had in months. The little Ape King hugged a jar of wine and poured it into his stomach, then laughed loudly. Although his strength was not bad, he was chased by Deng Hualin for several months without being able to get rid of him. It was really sullen. I have to thank you, Brother Murong. If it wasn't for you, I'm afraid I would still be on the road of being chased. The little Ape King looked at Murong and said seriously. Murong smiled faintly. I just don't like the people of the Fectus sect. The little Ape King and the little Lion King were startled at first. Then they laughed loudly. What a good don't like the people of the Fectus sect. A first step immortal killed them just because he didn't like them. If the people of the Fecta sect knew about this, would they cry themselves to death? I think I'm already arrogant enough, but I didn't expect Murong to be even more arrogant than me. The little Lion King looked at Murong and laughed loudly. I'm a very low-key person, Murong said with a smile. Plop, the little Ape King, the little Lion King, and everyone in the restaurant fell to the ground. Murong was a low-key person? This guy had shocked the self-cultivator world since his debut. In the past 10 years, countless experts had died in his hands. He had just killed a first-step immortal. If this was called low-key, then no one knew what was high-key. You're too modest. The little Lion King got up from the ground and said to Murong with a red face. He was blushing. Only now did he know what a low-key person was. Looks like we're not low-key enough. All right, we'll have to keep a low profile in the future. The little ape king and the little lion king looked at each other, then laughed and said at the same time. Looking at the little ape king and the little lion king, Muronyu muttered in his heart, "These two guys are the strongest in the younger generation. Should I pull them together to do a few big things?" Speaking of which, we actually killed a first step immortal today. It feels so good. Murong, when are we going to kill another first step immortal for fun? The little lion king looked at Muronyu and said in a negotiating tone. The little ape king also nodded continuously. Puffed. Muronyu spat out the wine he had just drunk. Kill a first step immortal for fun? These two guys were indeed people who wanted to see the world in chaos. However, with their combination, killing a first step immortal was not difficult. After all, even a first step immortal like Deng Hualin had been killed. Hearing the little Lion King's words, the cultivators of the nearby tables left without leaving a trace. These fellows were simply lunatics. Killing a first step immortal was just for fun? That was the pinnacle of the self-cultivator world. But in their words, it was just for fun. Footsteps sounded from the stairs. A few cultivators walked up and sat at a table near Muronyu. A cultivator lowered his voice and said, "It's said that the immortal ascension platform has reappeared in the self-cultivator world. I wonder if it's true." Chapter 300. The immortal ascension platform has reappeared in the cultivation world. Although the person who spoke had deliberately lowered his voice, everyone in the restaurant was a cultivator with excellent hearing. Thus, they were able to hear what he said clearly. Muronyu naturally heard their conversation as well. However, as he knew nothing about the immortal ascension platform, he was expressionless. However, he noticed that the little ape king and little lion king, who were sitting at the same table as him, were shocked. Not only that, but most of the cultivators in the restaurant were also shocked. Although Muronyu did not think much of it, he knew that the immortal ascension platform was no ordinary object. Otherwise, the little ape king and little lion king would not have such expressions. The immortal ascension platform has the word immortal in it. Does it have something to do with immortals? Muronyu muttered to himself as he looked at the little ape king and little lion king. What is the immortal ascension platform? Listening to them talk about the immortal ascension platform, he only knew that the immortal ascension platform had reappeared in the cultivation world. He did not know more about it. In the end, Muronyu could not help but ask. The little ape king took a deep breath and suppressed the shock in his heart. Then, he looked at Muronyu in shock and asked, "You don't even know about the immortal ascension platform?" "If I knew, why would I ask you?" Muronyu glared at him. The little lion king and little ape king looked at each other. They were amazed. Murongyu's strength was comparable to a first step immortal. Did he really not know about the immortal ascension platform? Just by looking at Murongyu's expression, they were sure that Muronyu did not know about the immortal ascension platform. This made them even more confused. What they did not know was that Muronyu had only been cultivating for less than 20 years. Although he was strong, he had only been in the cultivation world for a short time. Most importantly, he did not have a master. As a result, Murongyu's knowledge of the cultivation world had become extremely limited. He did not know about some of the more secret of legends. The so-called immortal ascension stage has the same function as the stairway to heaven and the gate of immortality. The immortal ascension stage is connected to the immortal realm and the cultivation world. Legend has it that as long as you enter the immortal ascension stage, you will be able to reach the immortal realm, Little Lion King explained. Muronyu was shocked. His voice was a little loud, and it attracted the attention of everyone in the restaurant. Doesn't that mean we don't have to cultivate hard? Anyone can enter the immortal realm through the immortal ascension stage? If it didn't know the identity of Muronyu and the others, these people would have already ridiculed them. This was the immortal ascension stage. It was a bridge that connected the immortal world and the cultivation world. One could enter the immortal world directly through the immortal ascension stage. There was no need to wait for one's physical body to completely transform into an immortal body. If his physical body was completely transformed into an immortal body, he would naturally be able to ascend without any danger. However, for hundreds of thousands of years, or even longer, no one in the cultivation world had ascended. This was because the transformation of the immortal physique was too slow. Almost everyone in the transformation period couldn't completely transform their physical body into an immortal physique after their lifespan was exhausted and they could ascend. The reason why cultivators in the transformation period were unable to transform their physical body into an immortal physique was because there was too little immortal chi. If they ascended to the immortal realm, they could rely on the immortal chi to quickly restore their physical body and become a true immortal. This way, their lifespan and strength would increase exponentially. One could only imagine how big of an uproar the reappearance of the immortal ascension stage would cause in the cultivation world. The cultivation world was already not peaceful to begin with. Because of the reappearance of the immortal ascension stage, the cultivation world would once again turn into a bloodbath. Any cultivator would want to use the immortal ascension stage to ascend to the immortal realm. After all, becoming an immortal would not only grant one a longer lifespan, but also greater strength. Lifespan and strength were what all cultivators pursued. In an instant, the restaurant, which had been almost full, had become cold. One by one, the cultivators had already left. After hearing about the immortal ascension stage, all of them wanted to get their hands on it. However, although Murong Yu and his table were shocked, they did not move. Can the two of you tell me more about the immortal ascension stage? Murong Yu was only shocked by the reappearance of the immortal ascension stage. He quickly calmed down. Don't tell me you don't have any plans? Little Ape King looked at Murong Yu suspiciously. What plans? Murong Yu was stunned. The immortal ascension stage did not have any treasures. What plans could he have? Little Ape King and Little Lion King looked at each other. Then Little Lion King said, "The immortal ascension stage is a bridge that connects the cultivation world to the immortal realm. You can enter the immortal realm without ascending. Don't tell me you don't want to go to the immortal realm?" Murong Yu shook his head and laughed. "I haven't even gone through the 49 heavenly tribulations. I'm only in the tribulation passing stage. This little bit of strength is nothing in the cultivation world. If I go to the immortal realm, wouldn't it be easy?" "Do you really think so?" Little Ape King continued to ask. Murong Yu rolled his eyes. "What else can I do? Don't forget, I've only been cultivating for a dozen years. I have plenty of time to cultivate. I will eventually have a chance to enter the immortal realm." Murong Yu had only been cultivating for less than 20 years. He already had such terrifying strength. Most importantly, he still had 10 million years of lifespan. If he could not ascend with 10 million years of lifespan, Murong Yu could slit his own throat and not live anymore. Therefore, when he heard about the immortal ascension stage, he was only shocked. He did not think much of it. Although the two of us are not as crazy as you, we don't have to think about the immortal ascension stage. It's only interesting if you ascend on your own." Little Ape King laughed. Murong Yu wasn't surprised. With the aptitudes of these two fellows, if they couldn't ascend, then no one in the cultivation world could. However, I think the immortal ascension stage will be very lively. I'm afraid all the old monsters in the cultivation world will come out. Murong Yu laughed. The old monsters had always been in seclusion to cultivate and transform their bodies. Now that the immortal ascension stage had appeared, wouldn't they all jump out? After all, many of the old monsters were nearing the end of their lives. Now that there was an opportunity to ascend, who would not want to seize it? I heard that the giant Ape King is also trying to ascend to the immortal realm. He should be going this time, right? Murong Yu had heard that the giant Ape King was nearing the end of his life. Otherwise, why would the giant Ape King not react when Little Ape King had been chased by Deng Hualin for a few months? Little Ape King frowned. He knew the giant Ape King situation better than everyone else. Just as outsiders had said, the giant Ape King was indeed trying to ascend to the immortal ascension stage because he was nearing the end of his life. If he succeeded, he would ascend. If he failed, his soul would be destroyed. When he heard that the immortal ascension stage had appeared, Little Ape King knew that the Giant Ape King would definitely go. After all, this might be his only chance. Everyone, are you interested in seeing what the legendary immortal ascension stage looks like? Little Ape King looked at Murongyu and the others and asked, "What's there to see?" The immortal realm is nothing special. The large black dog, who had been eating diligently, suddenly said. He had come from the immortal realm. Although he had been young, he knew much more about the immortal realm than people in the cultivation world. Large black dog, can this immortal ascension stage really connect to the immortal realm? Murongyu asked. Of course it can. However, those who are not strong enough will only be courting death if they enter the immortal realm, the large black dog said disdainfully. No matter what world one was in, strength was everything. When cultivators entered the immortal realm, they would be killed at every step. Even immortal Emperor Zhu Xian and the heavenly demon god had fallen, let alone these weak cultivators. However, so what if the immortal realm was 100 times more dangerous than the cultivation world? Cultivators still wanted to enter the immortal realm for a longer lifespan and strength. This was especially true for powerful cultivators like Murongyu. Even the immortal realm was not their final stage. The immortal ascension stage must be very lively. If we don't join in the fun, won't it be much quieter? Murongyu smiled slightly. All right, then let's join in the fun. Little Lion King and Little Ape King were also very excited. Xianyang City was one of the 5 great cities of the cultivation world. It was located in the north of the cultivation world. After many days of traveling, Murongyu and the others finally appeared in Xianyang City. Because of the relationship between Little Ape King and Little Lion King, Murongyu did not use the Hichu Luo Shu to teleport directly. Instead, he flew directly over. The cultivation world is too big. After entering Xianyang City, Murongyu rolled his eyes. He had never traveled so far before. It's not too bad. At least no one chased us along the way. Back then, I was chased by that old bastard Deng Hualin for a few months. I went around all 5 major cities in the cultivation world. The Little Ape King was still gnashing his teeth when he talked about being chased. Obviously, being chased for so long had left a shadow in Little Ape King's heart. Little Lion King patted Little Ape King's shoulder and said with a smile, "Next time, remember to let me know. I'll watch from the sidelines." Scram! Little Ape King glared at him. Because of the immortal ascension stage, Xianyang City, which was also one of the 5 great cities, was dozens of times more lively than the southern Desolation City. The strong ones were first-step immortals and even half-step immortals. The weak ones were foundation establishment stage and revolving reflection stage cultivators. Little Ape King frowned and said, "The immortal ascension stage is in the extreme north of the cultivation world. With our speed, it would take us a month to get there." Fly at full speed for a month? Murongyu was speechless. They were all super powerhouses of the younger generation. Their strength was comparable to first-step immortals, but with their speed, they still needed to fly for such a long time. Of course, if Murongyu was alone, it would not take so long. However, although Little Ape King and the others were not slow, they were still no match for Murongyu. "Young Master Murongyu, long time no see." At that moment, a voice that was like the sound of nature, but with a hint of charm, sounded in the ears of Murongyu and the others. At the same time, a group of people slowly walked in front of them. Chapter 301. In front of Murongyu, a group of people slowly walked over. Everyone was surrounding one of the women like stars surrounding the moon. She was a beautiful woman with a fiery figure that could charm all living things. Beside the woman were a dozen young men. Most of these men were not weak, and the weakest was at the tribulation stage. They should be the outstanding disciples of the younger generation of various large sects and forces. However, these so-called young elites were all looking at the woman with infatuation. At this moment, The woman was looking at Murongyu with a beautiful smile, causing the surrounding men to be even more infatuated. Murongyu smiled faintly. Zhao Jiqing's beauty was even more beautiful than the woman in front of him. Although the woman was beautiful, Murongyu was not a lecherous person. Hence, he directly ignored her beauty. Beauty who long time no see, you've become more beautiful, Murongyu said with a faint smile. Hu Tong's face revealed a trace of resentment as she glared at Murongyu and said faintly, "It's a pity that you still don't care." Hu Tong, the beauty ranked 4th on the 100-flower list. Usually, she would be accompanied by a few young elites. However, Hu Tong had never been nice to these people. She didn't even look at them. However, today, Hu Tong actually took the initiative to greet a man. Furthermore, looking at her resentment, it was as if the man had wronged her. Immediately, one of the young elites couldn't help but jump out. "Brat, who are you? How dare you?" Murongyu didn't even look at this so-called young elite. The fire-eyed golden ape beside him took a step forward and shouted coldly, "Bastard, you're courting death." Seeing a person who seemed to be the same as him walk out, this young elite who had reached the transformation stage shouted with a face full of killing intent. He was just worrying about how to win Hu Tong's favor when the fire-eyed golden ape jumped out. He was wondering if he should kill this ape to win Hu Tong's favor. As the thought flashed through his mind, the young man took a step forward and punched the fire-eyed golden ape. Bang! The fire-eyed golden ape looked at the young man with disdain and sent him flying with a kick. In the void, the young man spat out blood before falling onto the street in the distance. It seemed that he would not be able to survive. The fire-eyed golden ape coldly glanced at these people, then took a few steps back and stood behind Murongyu again. It was as if nothing had happened. The surrounding people were shocked as they looked at the fire-eyed golden ape in shock. He was well aware of the strength of the young man from before. The other party had already reached the mid-transformation stage. However, the mid-metamorphosis stage cultivator was sent flying by the fire-eyed golden ape's kick. Fire-eyed golden ape, just how terrifying is your strength? Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air and involuntarily took a few steps back in fright. A half-immortal bullying a transformation stage cultivator, how awe-inspiring. At this moment, a disdainful voice sounded. Before he finished speaking, a group of people slowly walked over. The one who spoke was the young man who was about 25 or 26 years old. He's at least a half-immortal. Murongyu's pupils constricted. This person was definitely not old and should be the leader of the younger generation. To reach the half-immortal realm at such a young age, he was probably a genius nurtured by a large sect. His ranking on the Dragon Phoenix list should not be low. Murongyu frowned slightly and looked at the little ape king unhappily. He asked, "Who is this idiot?" Hearing this, Hui Tianyi frowned slightly as a cold, killing intent flashed past. He's also an expert of a younger generation. He's about the same as you guys. He's the 10th on the Dragon Phoenix list, Hui Tianyi. The little ape king did not know either. Just as he was about to speak, Hu Tong said with a smile, "The top disciple of the Yuan Su sect who's 10th on the Dragon Phoenix list?" Murongyu, the little ape king, and the little lion king looked at each other, then laughed and said, "I don't know him, never heard of him." Hui Tianyi's eyes flashed with killing intent. He was the top disciple of the Yuan Su sect, a super expert of the younger generation who was ranked 10th on the Dragon Phoenix list. Usually, he was high and mighty. Even those experts of the older generation were polite when they saw him. They did not dare to be rude or be too slow. However, the three people in front of him were naked. They were looking down on him, which made him very angry. In fact, whether it was Murongyu, the little ape king, or the little lion king, they all had the strength to look down on Hui Tianyi. After all, their rankings on the Dragon Phoenix list were much higher than his. Their true strength was not inferior. Hui Tianyi suppressed the endless killing intent in his heart. His cold eyes slowly swept across the little ape king and the others. Then he stared at Murongyu and said with a cold voice filled with killing intent, "You're Murongyu? Murongyu?" Hearing Hui Tianyi's words, the so-called young elites who were originally following Hu Tong could not help but take a few steps back. They all looked at Murongyu with pale faces. This was a great demon who had even killed a one-step immortal. They actually wanted to offend him just now. Were they not courting death? Fortunately, Murongyu didn't bicker with them. Otherwise, they'd be deader than dead. Therefore, a young elite secretly ran away. Following that, everyone else ran away one after another. This made Hu Tong, who saw this scene, feel a little helpless. Even if she could not drive these flies away, when she recognized Murongyu's identity, they were all scared away. Murongyu glanced at Hu Tong and then said to the little ape king and the others, "Let's go." Before he finished speaking, he was about to leave. He did not even look at Hui Tianyi and directly ignored him. This made Hui Tianyi furious. Because of anger, he was so angry that his whole body was trembling. Traces of uncontrollable, cold, murderous intent seeped out of his body. It was very terrifying. So the so-called Great Demon Murongyu is only SOSO. You don't even dare to admit your identity in front of me. Hui Tianyi tried hard to suppress the anger and murderous intent in his heart. Then, he looked at Murongyu and said coldly. Murongyu paused and then looked at Hui Tianyi with disdain and said, "Do I know you? Who do you think you are? I even killed Ma Tianyun and a one-step immortal. Who do you think you are? Do you believe that I won't kill you?" Originally, Murongyu did not have a good impression of Yuan Su's sect. Back at the Demon Mountain, Yuan Su's sect master wanted to attack him. Later on, he also wanted Murongyu for a long time. Although his hatred for Murongyu was not as serious as Zushenzong's, it was not light either. When he saw Hui Tianyi, Murongyu did not immediately attack him. This was already a loss of face for Yuan Su's sect. Now, this ignorant fool dared to provoke him. This made Murongyu's murderous intent soar. Hui Tianyi was so angry that his whole body trembled. He pointed at Murongyu and the murderous intent that he had suppressed before suddenly erupted. It rushed into the sky and was very terrifying. "You what? If you don't get out of my way, I will kill you even in Xianyang City." Murongyu also revealed his murderous intent. While speaking, Little Ape King and Little Lion King also stepped forward and released their powerful auras to lock onto Hui Tianyi. If Hui Tianyi dared to attack, the two of them did not mind joining forces to kill him. Even a one-step immortal was no match for the three of them. They did not believe that Hui Tianyi was stronger than a one-step immortal. "Good. Very good. I will remember you." Feeling Murongyu's and the other two's murderous intent, Hui Tianyi took a deep breath before glaring at Murongyu with incomparably venomous eyes. If Murongyu was alone, he would definitely kill Murongyu. Although Murongyu was strong, he was not weak either. Moreover, he had a protector. He refused to believe that they wouldn't be able to kill Murongyu if they joined hands. However, there was still Little Ape King and Little Lion King. These two guys were very strong and had a strong background. Although Hui Tianyi was arrogant, he did not dare to attack the two of them at the same time. Moreover, Hu Tong of the Demon Clan was watching from the side. If he dared to attack, he would probably die here today. Even if he had a protector, the result would not be changed. Disappear automatically the next time you see me. Otherwise, I will kill you. Murongyu looked at Hui Tianyi and sneered. Then he left. Looking at the backs of Murongyu and the others, Hui Tianyi's murderous intent grew stronger. The hatred in his eyes grew more terrifying. "One day I will kill you." The Little Lion King slapped Murongyu's shoulder and laughed. "Motherf asterisk cur. I thought I was arrogant enough, but it turns out that you're even more arrogant than me." Murongyu only said indifferently, "Why should I be polite to someone who is my enemy? There will be a battle with Yuan Su's sect sooner or later. Moreover, Hui Tianyi is not a threat to me. If it were not for his protector's relationship with Xianyang City, I would have killed him long ago." It seems like Hui Tianyi is also going to the Immortal Ascension stage. Why don't we kill him on the way? Little Ape King came over and said with a sinister smile. "Good idea." Murongyu nodded. He felt that Little Ape King's idea was to his liking. Thus, the three of them along with the fire-eyed golden ape and the big black dog. The two scourges put their arms around each other's shoulders and started to plan how to kill Hui Tianyi and his protector. Hu Tong, who was following behind them, slapped her forehead with a helpless expression. With these 5 scourges together, Hui Tianyi is probably going to be in for a tragedy. I don't know what will happen to the cultivation world because of them. The 5 of them were not weaker than half immortals. Moreover, they were all outstanding talents of the younger generation. Most importantly, they were all people who wished for the world to be in chaos. When such people gathered together, even if it was the sky, they would be able to poke a hole in it. Right? Hu Tong, do you want to come with us? Murong turned to look at Hu Tong and smiled. No, I will go to the Immortal Ascension stage to take a look. Hu Tong even regretted coming with them. Chapter 302. In the end, Hu Tong stayed with Murong and the rest in the same inn in Xianyang City. Because of the reappearance of the Immortal Ascension stage, and because Xianyang City was one of the 5 cities closest to the Immortal Ascension stage, there were more and more cultivators in Xianyang City. In the end, all the inns in Xianyang City were full. Those who came later had no place to stay and could only sleep outside. One could imagine how tempting the Immortal Ascension stage was. The Immortal Ascension stage was located in the extreme north of the cultivation world. Because it was too desolate, there were very few people there. Even cultivators rarely went there. This was because that place was full of dangers. Therefore, many cultivators would replenish their resources in Xianyang City before entering the extreme north. At one point, all the pills in Xianyang City were almost sold out. At this time, Murong and the rest appeared in the largest inn in Xianyang City. Apart from them, Hui Tianyi, whom he had met once before, was also here. The Limitless Sword sect's holy son Xue Chun, the Joyful Union sect's first disciple Luo Yi, the Mystic Moon sect's first disciple Zhongli Lin. Basically, all the young cultivators who were at the top of the Dragon Phoenix list were here. Apart from Li Su and Little Peng King, who were first and second on the Dragon Phoenix list, the rest of the top 10 cultivators were here. Of course, the original 8th cultivator, Ma Tianyun, had been killed by Murong. Apart from these people, the young cultivators of the various large sects had also appeared. The first disciples, holy sons, and holy daughters were all gathered in this small inn. Even the holy sons and holy daughters of the hidden fairy valley had appeared. However, Murong did not see Zhao Jiqing in the hidden fairy valley. She probably did not come. Waves of killing intent came from all directions, pressing down on Murong body. It was as if they wanted to kill him. However, Murong acted as if he didn't feel anything. He knew very well that it was none other than Xue Chun and Hui Tianyi who had released these killing intent. These large sects all had enmity with Murong. If it was not the young generation's elites that were killed by Murong, then many of their sect's half-immortals were killed by Murong. Seeing the hatred and murderous gazes directed at Murong, they continued to stare at him. The little ape king, little lion king, Hu Tong, and the others were sitting at the same table as Murong felt extremely pressured. Those were all experts of the younger generation, although they were not afraid of them at all. However, Murong had offended almost all of them, which gave them a lot of pressure. Sometimes, they'd even wonder why Murong still had more enemies than them, even though they'd been ranked far ahead of Murong in the past. Thinking that Murong had provoked 8 of the 10 great sects, the little ape king and the others sweated in their hearts. Murong, it seems like a lot of people want to kill you. The little ape king poured a jar of wine into his mouth, then loudly said to Murong. Murong indifferently glanced at the cultivators in the restaurant with a disdainful expression. If they dared to make a move here, I don't mind killing them all. Looking down on everyone, they were incomparably arrogant and looked down on everyone. Even though these were the most outstanding disciples of the large sects, after hearing Murong's words, they couldn't help but become furious and their killing intense sword. In the corner of the restaurant, there were disciples of the hidden fairy valley. Because Li Su didn't appear, The ones who came to Xianyang City this time were their sects Saint Sun and Saintess. The Saintess was the number 1 on the 100-flower list, Li Sisi. At this moment, after hearing Murong Yu's words, her eyes under the white veil couldn't help but reveal traces of splendor. On the other side, the chief disciple of the Mystic Moon sect, Zhong Lilin, also looked at Murong Yu curiously. All along, the Mystic Moon sect and Murong Yu had maintained a good relationship, and there hadn't been any conflicts. Therefore, as the chief disciple of the Mystic Moon sect, Zhong Lilin, who was ranked 9th on the Dragon Phoenix list, didn't have any hostility towards Murong Yu. She was just extremely interested in this legendary man. At this moment, Zhong Lilin's beautiful eyes were looking straight at Murong Yu, as if she wanted to see what kind of person Murong Yu was. He's just someone with an undeserved reputation. To be on the Dragon Phoenix list with him really makes us feel ashamed. Hui Tianyi, who was beside her, was still angry in his heart. He sneered with killing intent. Murong Yu glanced at him indifferently. I don't know who made the Dragon Phoenix list back then. With your mediocre skills, you can enter the 10th place on the list. You must be blind. Ha ha. As soon as Murong Yu finished speaking, everyone in the restaurant burst into laughter. The people present were all the elites of the younger generation of the various sections. Moreover, all the sects were at odds with each other on the surface. Now that they heard that Murong Yu was targeting Hui Tianyi, they naturally added insult to injury and jeered. Hui Tianyi was furious. He looked at Murong Yu with killing intent and slammed the table. Murong Yu, I want to duel with you. Murong Yu's face was full of disdain. What qualifications do you have to duel with me? Are you stronger than Ma Tianyin? Are you stronger than the one-step immortal of the Tianji sect, Dang Hualin? Hui Tianyi was furious. His murderous aura surged out and swept towards Murong Yu. At this moment, another young expert in the same restaurant was glaring at Murong Yu with a venomous expression. He was the chief disciple of the Tianji sect, Chao Hongyan. The Tianji sect's sacred son, Yu, was killed by the young Ape King. On the other hand, Yu's protector, the one-step immortal Dang Hualin, was killed by Murong Yu and the young Ape King. This caused the Tianji sect to suffer a great loss. They were even mocked by everyone in the cultivation world. Now, at this time, Murong Yu was still trampling on the dignity of the Tianji sect. This made him very angry. Bang! Chao Hongyan slammed the table and stood up. He glared at Murong Yu. Murong Yu, you despicable and shameless person. If it weren't for your tricks, how could you have killed the one-step immortal of the Tianji sect? Murong Yu was stunned when he saw the young man glaring at him with murderous intent, his eyes spitting fire. It was as if he wanted to kill him. Who is this guy? Murong Yu turned to look at Hu Tong. At the same time, the young Lion King, young Ape King, and the others also looked at Hu Tong. They didn't know her either. Seeing this, Chao Hongyan was completely enraged. The chief disciple of the Tianji sect, Chao Hongyan, Hu Tong glared at Murong Yu with her beautiful eyes, as if blaming him for causing trouble. Oh, so it's the chief disciple of the Tianji sect. Murong Yu shook his head and looked at Chao Hongyan. We have already killed the one-step immortal and the one-step immortal of the Tianji sect. Why don't we kill the chief disciple as well? Young Ape King looked at Murong Yu and the others with a look of discussion. Arrogant, too arrogant. Everyone in the restaurant looked at Murong Yu and the others. They felt like they were going crazy. These scourges were really not afraid of the Tianji sect, one of the top 10 sections. Not only did they kill the one-step immortal and the one-step immortal, they even wanted to kill the chief disciple of the Tianji sect. Could it be that they wanted to kill all the outstanding disciples of the younger generation of the Tianji sect? If that was really the case, the Tianji sect would probably use all their strength to hunt down Murong Yu and the others. However, if Murong Yu really dared to make a move, these outstanding disciples of the other sects would also do the same. After all, they couldn't wait for all the outstanding disciples of the other sects to die. If it wasn't for their misgivings, why would they still be sitting in the same restaurant? They would probably have already started a fight. You're all courting death. Chao Hongyan was enraged. The veins on his forehead bulged as he looked at Murong Yu and the others with murderous intent. Murong Yu, you killed the chief disciple of Zushenzong, Ma Tianyun. Young Ape King, you killed the one-step immortal of the Tianji sect, Hiyu. Among the three of us, I'm the only one who doesn't have such a glorious record. Why don't you give this Chow something to me? Otherwise, the gap between us is too big. I won't feel good about it. Young Lion King suddenly said. Puffed. Hearing Young Lion King's words, the cultivators in the restaurant spat out their wine. The three of them were all talents. They actually dared to compete with the one-step immortal by killing the chief disciple of the other sex. Chao Hongyan, on the other hand, was furious. He felt that he had been completely ignored. With his strength, he wasn't even placed in Murong Yu's eyes. This made him very angry. Although he was slightly stronger than Hiyu, he was still a super expert ranked 25th on the Dragon Phoenix list. He also had his dignity as an expert. However, his dignity was so laughable in the eyes of Murong Yu and the others. This was because Murong Yu and the others didn't take him seriously at all. Young Ape King looked at Young Lion King with disdain. Do you think you can compare to the two of us after killing this Chao Hongyan? At least you have to kill that Hui Tianyi. Young Ape King looked at Hui Tianyi with disdain as he spoke. Ha, that's not impossible. However, you have to block his protector for me. Young Lion King laughed. He actually didn't take Hui Tianyi seriously at all. Okay, when the time comes, you kill Hui Tianyi. Then we'll kill his protector. Murong Yu said with a laugh. Seeing the three of them talking about the life and death of the most outstanding disciple of the younger generation and even discussing how to kill a one-step immortal, the others in the restaurant were speechless. These three fellows must be crazy. However, they had the strength to be crazy. As for Hui Tianyi and Chao Hongyan, they were almost angered to death at this moment. All of them looked at Murong Yu with incomparable resentment, wondering if they should go up and kill Murong Yu and the others. However, Murong Yu and the other two had even killed a one-step immortal when they joined forces, so they were a little worried. Moreover, at this moment, Murong Yu had Hu Tong by his side. One had to know that Hu Tong was not only a super beauty ranked 4th on the 100 flower list, but her strength was also ranked 7th on the Dragon Phoenix list. The strength of the 4 people in the top 10 of the Dragon Phoenix list combined could even sweep away a first-rate force. With Hui Tianyi's strength and his protector, they were no match for Murong Yu and the others at all. Moreover, there was also the fire-eyed golden ape and the big black dog, who were also not weak. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.